All right, here we are back with another Sub CLE. Today, man, God, this my sister would be proud because she loved the glam rock back in the day, and man, got the lead singer from Priscilla, Brad Slitt, and I'm really excited about this. A lot of people have. I've heard a couple times people recommending you to this, and I've seen some of the things you do. This guy, he makes music, he makes film, and he's goddamn good looking, man. So, Brad,
Thank you.
nice to have you here, man.
Thank you, Vince. Can I call you Chris?
You can call me Chris. I had the Chris Daughtry kind of thing back in the day.
Yeah.
I'm not as good. I can't sing as good.
Me?
What's that?
Why isn't your sister interviewing
me? Things and such. Actually, she passed away, man. I know. I set you up for that.
Did she really?
Yeah.
You dick. I'm so sorry.
I appreciate that. No. But no, she
right
was
off
like
the bat,
she was like super. So growing up, she was like in the Poison and obviously all the glam rock stuff.
Yeah.
And I had to be like the boy and the cooler thing. So I was like, "Shot at the Devil" by Motley Crue was cool. But then you had to have
cool.
Yeah, and then you had to have the Megadeth, Metallica, Slayer kind of stuff like that, whatever. But I would be lying if I said there wasn't a guilty pleasure there, and she'd put on the album and I'd listen to Talk Dirty to Me and secretly be dancing in my head. It's good stuff.
Here's the thing, though. On the whole glam thing, we were just talking about Bill Peters a second ago. It's funny because I did an interview with him a couple years ago, and he was telling me about that people rag on him because he does listen to Rat and Motley Crue and stuff like that. Now he never used to back in the day. Yeah. Here's the thing, too. To back that up a little bit, he put us on as the first headlining band that wasn't a heavy metal band of the JCU Christmas ball that he does every year. It was the last one they did, actually, 3 years ago or whatever. And he was getting flack. People were calling him saying, what the I could swear, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
absolutely. The fuck are you doing, Bill? What fuck you, man? And he's like, I can't believe people are doing this. I said, I believe it, Bill. I said, I get it. I told you this was going to happen, man. And he had asked me, year after year for a few years, multiple years, to do it. He said, can Priscilla do it? I really want to do this. It's going to shake things up. Yeah. I said, Bill, I don't know if it's going to work, but and the other thing is, the band's not together. And then when the band did come together for it, we did it. And it was everything went great, other than the flack that Bill got.
Right.
But, going back to what you were just saying about, listening to that and being a guilty pleasure. And Bill's asking me, do you still listen to that? And I always say, did I listen to it then? Yeah, sure. Everyone did back then in the day for a minute in time. Even the people that said they didn't, they did, But I was never a giant fan of that. That wasn't my thing. I was always in the new wave of British heavy metal, Thin Lizzy. Oh, yeah, UFO, Iron Maiden, all that stuff. Okay. That was my old Def Leppard, even pre-Fire Mania. I love that stuff. So that was my thing. But, I listen to it. It's cool. And, we all listen to all kinds of music, which I always say, don't be so arrogant to say, oh, man, if you don't just listen to fucking metal or this or that. No, come on, man. Everyone listens to everything. I listen to everything, There's certain things I really don't have a taste for, I guess, or country music's one of them. There's certain country songs or things that are all right, But, like I always say, I feel like my IQ is melting away when I listen to a lot of it, because the lyrical content.
Well, a lot of the newer country music is just pop music. It
is like the '80s Redux with a country country accent,
right,
a flexion.
Yeah, there's a little accent to it. Even the guitar has an accent,
Oh, one thing I did want to say that I was talking about there. Can I preface this whole podcast by saying I'm going to call this the "Please Do Not Cancel Me" podcast. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to call it I don't give a fuck at this point if you do cancel me or not.
There you go.
I'm just going to tell it like it is.
That's cool.
Right?
Hey, the worst thing they could do is take it down and demonetize it. And I'm not making any money anyway, so
there you go. Right. I don't care. And and going with that, like I was telling you, when we were talking about this, I spent the last several years, multiple years anyways, trying to make friends and trying to make fans and trying to be good about things. And like I said, I will always be a good, empathetic person and do the right thing because that's just the right thing to do. And that's what my belief system tells me to do.
Yeah.
But as far as pandering to an audience to say, I'm a good dude, please like me.
Yeah.
People ain't going to give a fuck or not anyways, man. They don't care. I've been listening to a lot of Ronnie Radke interviews and stuff like that. And I like the dude's attitude because he don't give a shit. He doesn't pull punches.
Yeah.
And like we were talking about, like I've been listening to a lot of the new Avenged Sevenfold, which I think is absolutely brilliant. And the cancel culture, he's on their tour. And people were telling them, we're not going to see Avenged Sevenfold if you keep him on your tour. And M. Shadows came directly out in opposition to that and said,
well, can you say who he plays with? I mean, yeah.
Falling in Reverse.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. But the guy's just outspoken. And what he is, he's a modern-day Axl Rose. He's a modern-day, I don't know, Marilyn Manson or whatever, like, in a sense. You know what I mean? Because he just doesn't pull punches. And he tells it like it is. Everything's so homogenized.
Shock value or whatever. It's funny.
Not even shock value. It's just telling the truth and not giving a fuck.
It's funny just how,
dude, this is me. This is human. You know, it's the human experience, and you know, not everyone's so honest, squeaky clean, man. But if you're a rock and roller, come on, man. You know, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say, like, it's just weird, like that. You know, you're coming out here saying, you know, I just want to be honest and be myself, and for some reason, that's going to be shocking and offensive, and that should be the complete opposite, you know?
It's rock and roll, dude. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, like, as far as pulling punches, like, there's so many things, like I was telling you, like, there's so much dirt or whatever that, like, you have to really censor yourself before you speak because of today's woke culture. You know, it's like, well, if I say this, people aren't going to like me. Or if I speak out against this, then people are going to find me offensive. Really?
Well,
dude, why can't we just all be honest? Just be good people.
That's right.
Be good people. You know, be cool.
Yeah.
Be cool to one another. Do the right thing. But just be honest about shit. Like Marilyn Manson, you know, Evan Rachel Wood, his ex-fiance, that canceled his entire fucking career for being a bad fiance. You know,
well, I think he was a little
emotionally abusive.
Can you imagine? It's kind of weird. Think about this. Marilyn Manson was a little kinky in bed.
Dude, he's the god of fuck. What's the first fucking thing you hear him say?
That's not shocking,
right? Evan Rachel Wood knew exactly, precisely what she was getting. That's what she was attracted to. That's a fact,
right?
You know, I know all about this, and that's what she was drawn to. And then when they end up breaking up, she uses that all against him and cancels his entire career, which I'm absolutely surprised. Some of the people that follow, you know, all his agencies, Tony Ciulla. I don't know if you knew Tony, but
I don't know.
That was his lifelong manager.
Okay.
He used to own Peabody's in Cleveland. He owned the Empire.
Okay.
Him and his brother Jimmy. Great dudes. Great dude. Tony is awesome. To this day, just a great dude.
But it's not just him. It's all the people that work on his tour. I mean, that's a lot of people.
You're affecting a lot of lives, man.
Yeah.
And you're going to let one chick in this woke society, oh, heavens.
Yeah.
I understand that Marilyn was mean to her at one time.
Yeah.
Okay. It's called a bad relationship. That's why relationships end, you know, and as that did end, you know.
Yeah.
It is what it is, man. You know, just like, don't cancel the dude's whole career. The dude's brilliant. I love Marilyn Manson, you know. I thought the last album he did was the best thing he's done in 15 years. Yeah. And he was just getting momentum out of that,
I agree. That falling or the reverse or whatever.
We Are Chaos.
Yeah, that's it, dude. I really enjoyed that one. Yeah,
great. Best thing he's done, man, in years. And I was like really happy for him and happy where it was going. It was getting a lot of airplay.
Yeah.
And all across America, all the stations just pulled him overnight because of one tweet from Evan Rachel Wood. One tweet. My ex-boyfriend, my ex, whatever, the person that abused me was Marilyn Manson. That's all she said. Or Brian, I think she said Brian Warner. She used his real name. And that was it. And he was canceled overnight.
It's unfortunate because I wanna actually say that, you know, it does a disservice, and we honestly don't know, but you know, there are girls that are out there being abused. You know what I mean?
And
for sure. You know,
again, I'm not speaking against that. Use your head. Like if there's abuse going on, if there's bad things going on, by all means, call it to light. Call it for what it is. But this is a generation or it's a societal shift that's going on, a generational shift that it's become popular to cancel people, to the same people that build you up, they feel that power, and I think it empowers them to have that ability that they could go online overnight and say, yeah, fuck this guy, or fuck that guy, we're not supporting him anymore, and overnight they see this, and that gives you a feeling of power.
Right.
You don't have power. In the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever, do you think you could have single-handedly, you and your peers could have canceled Elvis or the Beatles or the Rolling Stones? It wouldn't have happened. It couldn't have.
You didn't have social media back then, so you
exactly.
didn't
We didn't have a platform to do that.
Yeah.
But now that power is in the people's hands, and they're empowered. Like, you think about what Elvis did, what the Beatles did, what the Stones did. What they were. And I've said this before in interviews, and they were banging, 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds. And again, I would never condone any of that.
Yeah.
That's not wrong. I'm like condoning pedophilia.
Right.
If anyone misconstrues that. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that the things that those people did, that those bands did, by today's standards, holy shit, man.
Right.
If you say the wrong thing to your girlfriend now, you cancel by societal standards.
Right.
Back then, they were banging 12-year-olds in every city they pulled into. They made them their girlfriends. They made them the regular stops on the tour. But
Jerry Lee Lewis married his underage cousin, right?
That's just one, right? Yeah. And it goes along with everything that was going on. For some reason, people do call that to light, but they were all doing that. Like Steve Tyler's first living girlfriend was, I think, 15, maybe 14. He got permission from her parents to take her on tour and to move her in with him, and that's just one guy, and Ted Nugent, same thing, and right down the line. And that's what these people did, and that was just the norm, because society was different. Not saying it's right, not saying I agree with that, but I'm just saying that if you're going to cancel for things, don't listen to Dark Side of the Moon ever again. Don't listen to House of the Holy or any of that. Don't listen to any of it, man.
Right.
Guns N' Roses, all those bands in the 80s. Holy shit, dude. I'm surprised none of them have been canceled.
Yeah, but I gotta say, this whole cancel culture thing, I think it's just, the media is an extension of the government, and the government wants to divide us in some way. And,
exactly.
And I think,
absolutely.
I think they hang on to these things because it's like the same thing about this war on Christmas. Remember that? Remember when the war on Christmas was happening?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, most of my friends are atheists, and not one of them hates Christmas. But you would think, by what the media said, that there's this big war on Christmas. Well, I don't know. Who won that war? Why aren't we still talking about it? What happened?
Right.
Oh, well, we moved on to them dividing us over something else.
It's all about and it's all about division.
They make up these things. I know a lot of people, and I know younger people that are very left and very, as some people would say, woke or whatever, and they don't even agree with a lot of the shit that's happening. You know what I mean?
And they shouldn't.
It's just made up media thing that isn't really even happening, but it riles everyone up.
Right. And it keeps us distracted.
Yeah.
Because the division is a distraction.
Right.
But it's wrong. It's wrong. And it keeps, imagine the power if we weren't divided.
Yeah.
It's politics and it's religion that divide us.
Yeah.
Through history.
Well, and a lot
history.
Race and class
but,
and
Yeah, but somewhat. Yeah, I know. I mean, that is a cultural thing in a sense, but at the same time, that's affected by religion and affected by politics. Because politics draws that out. It's like, if you're a conservative, you're a racist. If you're a Democrat, you're a liberal. You're not. But it's like, is that really true? Come on.
I guess it's synonymous. If you're a liberal now, then you're a pedophile. I guess that's what the big thing now is.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But I know a lot of Democrats that are not pedophiles.
Right.
But I don't identify with any party. I think they're both just working for the same agenda, and that's not for the agenda does not have us included in that equation.
I've said before, there's that upper 1%, that upper tier, that doesn't give a shit about you or I.
Right.
Where our kids are canning food.
Right.
If we had kids,
they'd
be canning food. They don't care. They send us off to war. They send our children off to war. They don't care.
Right.
They will never go to war. Their families will never go to war.
Right.
They're there. They're earning the billions of dollars, not millions, but billions, and they always be on that top echelon of the world, of society. That we will never be. We will never affect them. They will never affect us.
Right.
In a way that pertains to humanity.
Right. Yeah.
And that's, if people realize that, people realize just how we do not mean shit to those people.
Yeah.
Then they would understand. But people think we do. Somehow, people feel that those politicians have their best interests. That they don't. You know, their pocketbooks are their best interests, and their personal gain is what their interest is all about.
Right.
Always has been.
For sure.
You know.
Well, but is it? You know, I mean, because I think money was only designed as a measure of power,
and it is.
So my drummer wrote lyrics to a song back in the day, and it was basically equating money to the shackles, and we are slaves, and monies are the shackles that keep us
slave to the grind.
Yeah, and it's like,
absolutely.
So, but the more money you have, the more power you have too. So, you get to a point where if it's not checked, and if say you got all these billionaires now, well, that's power. And if money is power, and I think we can all agree to that, the more money you have, the more power you have, and the more the less democracy is around. You know what I mean? Democracy doesn't even
That's
matter
an accurate
anymore.
statement.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if somebody has all the money, they have all the power, and there's no democracy.
Right.
Here's
how I always say, like, money, as they say, is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
And it is, and it's like, it just breeds contempt, and it breeds a lot of negativity and a lot of bad things. Do we need money? Yes, of course. You got to pay your bills. You got to pay your electric bill. You got to pay your phone bill. You got to pay your house, your mortgage, whatever. The more we have, the more fun we could have. That's cool, because like
there's a threshold there where it's like cool.
Yeah, but the love of money, the sheer love of money. Is not cool, and it becomes an evil. And I'm gonna say, this is just something I tapped into. Someone who posted something about the last Kiss gigs, because I know you're a Kiss fan. The Madison Square Garden, the last 2 nights they're doing, and Ace Frehley and
just because I know Tripp doesn't mean I'm a big Kiss fan. I do appreciate Kiss.
Oh,
but
okay.
But I
thought when I was talking to you guys, like, he lumped you in with. I thought he lumped you in with that. I'm like, oh, okay.
But I just
cool. Yeah, I was when I was a little kid. I mean, I liked them when I was a kid. Kiss. Yeah. When I was a kid, man, I loved them. They were very, very cool. They were comic book heroes, and they were fucking cool.
That's what we were saying.
But, like, here's the thing. I don't know if you know about this or not. Like, Ace Frehley and Peter Criss, the supposedly last 2 nights they're doing this End of the Road, which very clever that Paul and Gene's called the End of the Road, because I'm sure they're going to do a residency in Vegas or somewhere else. So it is. They can legitimately say, yes, it is the End of the Road. They're too old to. They're in their mid-70s. They can't go on. They can't lug around 50, 60 pounds of armor on stage every night around the world. But they could do it in a comfortable residency and, a hotel in Vegas. But for the last 2 nights, Madison Square Garden, Ace Frehley and Peter Criss, Gene and Paul extended, I guess, the olive branch, if you will, and said, we want you guys to do it. Do at least the encores with us. They said, we'll do it, but we want $125,000 each. Just $125,000 each. $250,000, $250,000. It might sound like a lot for a night. It's not. They're going to earn, Paul and Gene, by the merchandising rights, the video rights, all that, they're going to make millions off that night. That is a moment in history you can't replicate. That's the end of the line. In theory, like I said, it will go on. But for the touring Kiss, yeah. So if, like I said on my buddy's post about this, so if the Beatles had gone on for 50 years, and just saying they were all still alive, the original members, John, Paul, George, Ringo, none of them had died, and they had this one chance to play 2 last nights, and they had a chance to put the entire original band back together for the sake of $250,000. Wouldn't they do it? Hell yeah, I gotta imagine they would. I gotta imagine any band like that would, whether it's Zeppelin or the Stones. If anyone had that chance in time, in history, to leave behind a legacy, they would do that. So Gene and Paul have that chance to do that, but for the sake of money, for $250,000, those guys, and this goes back to what you're saying about the money thing. Gene and Paul, on record, they're worth like $300, $400, $500 million a piece. I'm sure it goes it has to go way beyond that. Those are hidden funds because they're hiding it for tax reasons. I'm sure they have to be, because if you do the math on it, they've been successful. And I'm not saying they existed. They've existed since 72, 73. They've been successful since 75, since the Kiss Alive album.
Right.
They've made millions every year. Their merchandising alone has just made every year tens of millions, then hundreds of millions at points, I'm sure. If you do the math, how can the two leaders of the two CEOs of that corporation not be worth $1 billion a piece? Because they have to be. They just have to be, you know? If they're not, then they did something wrong, and they're not doing anything wrong because they're very business savvy.
I think Gene is
the most business savvy rock star on the planet.
Yeah.
So, like, these guys that are in their mid-70s, they have more money than their kids can ever spend, and they're not willing to fork out $250,000 to Peter and Ace to do the right thing. Come on, you know. But that goes back to the whole money thing that you just addressed. That it's sad, man.
Yeah.
Like, you know, unless there's some politics there that we're missing that they're not making publicly known. And you know, I know they always say Peter and Ace are hard to get along with, but come on, it's one night, 2 nights. You know, just do it, man, for the sake of the fans. You make a lot of fans really happy all across the world. You'd make tens of millions of fans very happy.
I was going to say, you would do that, and you might even, well, I don't know how much you can sell out more than selling out somewhere, you know what I mean? But it seems like you would make more money just by having Ace and Peter in
like
there.
I said, the
know.
merchandising.
Yeah.
You know, off the Richter scale on that.
Okay. All right. So okay. All right. Let me take the reins here.
Yeah,
and,
you got it.
Yeah, and
I told you, man, we're going way off
I want to talk about you, man. That's what, you know. I want to talk about you.
Yeah, I got the thing doing interviews, man.
Yeah.
Start just talking.
I want to know. Because I don't know a lot of this stuff, and you know, I saw a couple interviews, and I honestly, the more I don't know about something, the more I like doing this. You know what I mean? But you know, obviously, you were in Priscilla, and that was a pretty successful band. You know, but like I want to know, you know, and you know where this is going. What started the spark? What was it? Kiss, or was it something else?
Yeah.
Or what made you start singing? Were you in band or a school band or something? Or
I was in a band in high school called the Vandals. What started it was,
but even before that, you know,
before that was, and I've told this story before, was my mom. The first time I remember loving a rock star and thinking that is like the coolest thing, and that's kind of like what I should aspire to be, whatever it is in me that ignited that spark. I guess it was Elvis Presley. I remember watching Love Me Tender with my mom on like a movie of the week or something on one of the few channels we had in Cleveland. And you know, it was on the 8 o'clock movie or whatever it was, and it was Love Me Tender. And I remember my mom getting so emotionally wrapped up in the Elvis Presley character in that movie. And if you're familiar with the movie, he dies at the end. I remember my mom like crying at the end. And I thought, this guy's got to be pretty powerful if he's doing this to my mom. And I was asking my mom these questions, you know, who is he? You know, what's he all about? Old? Man, I was like probably like 3.5 years old at that time.
Oh, you were pretty aware.
I just remember that being a cognitive memory, you know. So I remember that really affecting me. And then, like, it progressed, and I was always into rock and roll, and I really loved shock rock, theatrical rock. I like before anyone. Like, I was so young.
Where'd you grow up?
Where did I grow up?
Yeah,
Cleveland, Strongsville, Cleveland,
suburbia,
and Strongsville. Cleveland to Strongsville.
Cool.
Basically that. Yeah. But I just remember like Alice Cooper when he was making like his first big splash, like in like School's Out and $1 Billion Babies and that, and like the schoolyard kid or neighborhood kid, like the older kids that my older brother would hang around with, talking about Alice Cooper and the shocking things he would do on stage. And like, you know, there's all the rumors, just like the rumors that came around like later about Manson or whatever. There's all these blown out of proportion rumors about these things he would do on stage. But like as a kid, you know, you gravitate towards that and think, wow, I got to figure out what's going on here. And I liked it. I liked the pictures I saw, and like, I just love the theatrics of it. And I love David Bowie and his like the early glam era, like when he's making the Ziggy Stardust spark around Cleveland and that. Like, I didn't know what was going on, but I knew I liked it. You know, I knew the older kids were digging what was going on. And for whatever reason, and I think it was my love of horror films and things like that, because, you know, that was theatrical, you know, and it involved makeup and
shocking too.
Yeah, shocking. Yeah. Whatever that was, I really dug it, and I love the combination of that. And then when Kiss came around, it's like, man, they
both together.
Yeah, they hit the lottery on that, you know. And I just remember the older kids and my older brother coming home and saying, "There's this band called Kiss. They wear makeup and they wear these costumes. They wear 7-inch heels." And they spit blood and blow fire, and, you know, they blow up their stage and all this. And I was like, whoa, my little mind was like blowing up. And I remember being in a store, like a convenient type store, with my dad at the time. And there was like a Roxy magazine, and Kiss, like Gene Simmons' was on the corner of the cover. And I just remember my eyes going to that and thinking, oh man, you know, there's that band my brother told me about. And I opened it up real quick. My dad's like, come on, we gotta go, you know. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, holy shit, this is cool. And I remember going out to the car and telling my brother, I saw that band Kiss you were talking about. Yeah. And it was like not long after that, my brother had thrown me in a pool this particular summer, and my head ricocheted off the side of this built-in pool. Yikes. And it hurt. And I split my ear open, so I had to get 25 stitches in my ear. My mom took me to the doctor to get my stitches removed, and then I was crying, and, you know, it hurt.
Right.
And so she felt bad for me. She said, I'll buy you an album to make up for this pain you have to endure, you know, after this. And she took me to Peaches Records and Tapes over on West 25th Pro Road, whatever. That doesn't exist, hasn't existed in a long time, but that was like the mecca that, you know, all kids grew up going to back then. And I talked to, like, I went there wanting to get a David Essex Rock On album, because that was like a big song, whatever. And I wasn't thinking about Kiss for whatever reason, but like Rock On was on my mind. And I go in there thinking that, so I pick up that album, and I walk over a little bit. I see Kiss. I'm like, you know, holy shit, man, you know. And I reach up, and like I was so small, I could barely reach up there. And I grabbed some Kiss albums. Like all they were up to by that point was Kiss Alive had just come out, or was out. And I'm like, whoa, this album has a booklet, you know, with it, and it opens up. Yeah. So I talked her into getting me that. Like we didn't have a lot of money, and it was like $1 more than the other album that I was gonna get. You know, like that time, whatever, $4.99 for a single album, $5.99 for a double album. But I talked her into it, and that kind of probably changed the trajectory of where my life was going, because, like at that point, I was like. And I told my friends and my cousins, whoever, I'm like, we gotta start a band. We gotta be rock stars. Like that was it. You know, that was all that was going on. But so like that progressed to like being, you know, having some really, you know, hokey bands as a kid, you know, in school, whatever. And then I was in a band called the Vandals that we just basically were a Van Halen cover band without meaning to be a Van Halen. We didn't mean to be a Van Halen cover band, but Van Halen 1 had just come out, so we were just emulating all that. And like I was trying to be like David Lee Roth in a sense. Yeah. And we were just doing all those songs, and then my buddy that played guitar for that band was like a great guitarist, like before his time, and he was like the kid in school that was known for playing guitar. Right. So we did that, but like we just played like parties, and like a roller skating rink and that. So it was really nothing, really. Well,
that's more than a lot of people did, you know, in high school.
Yeah, you know? Yeah, it is what it is, you know. But like that was. That gave me a taste of where things could go, I guess. Yeah. And then, like, right after high school, I joined a band, just for a minute. I joined a band called, they were called Vanillin, and then they became, weird name. It was an Indian name for something. I don't remember what it is. Spirit of the Wind or something. I don't know. I don't remember. But they changed their name to Enforcer, and they had just gotten rid of their singer, who was a great singer. Sound like Phil Maga, UFO, kind of like that kind of tone going on. And they got me, and it was a whole different thing. Like it was a heavy band, but it was very much actually influenced by like the new wave of British heavy metal type of thing, like that kind of a thing, like old school Scorpions maybe. Right. I can't even place it, man. But like maybe Queensryche EP-ish, maybe, kind of like.
Now, well, I'm sorry, was this the type of music that you were looking for? Or
no. Yeah, right. That's what I fell into. That's why it didn't work out. Yeah. Like, we actually I recorded some demo. I laid down vocal tracks on some demo tape they were doing at the time, I remember. And the songs are great, and they were super talented. And some of them did go on to do some things, some big things in music. But it just wasn't my thing. And I just fell out of that real quick. I was like, no, this isn't going to work for me, because I wanted different, theatrical. And around that time, like I was following what was going on in LA. Like before anyone else, like I was just not say I was ahead of the pack, but like even in high school, I'd read Kerrang! Magazine. Yeah. And I would like always look at they had a section of what's going on the Sunset Strip. And like Motley Crue was up and coming, Wasp was up and coming, Rat was up and coming, all those bands. And they had a very theatrical flavor to them, and I liked what I was seeing. And I wanted to do that. And then Poison came to town. They played a place called the Old Brooklyn Tavern that held all of like 100 people. It's like I think it's a methadone clinic now or something on West 25th. Like the building's still there. It's like by the old the RTA station on West 25th.
Okay.
And I saw them, and I became friends with Bret Michaels on that night. And
oh, really?
They blew me away. It was so different, so powerful, like energetic. It had pizzazz, man. It did. Like, it was different from what I was seeing around here at that time. I said, that's what I'm going to do.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yep.
Yeah, because I want to say, like, I was working somewhere and I ended up seeing the Cheap Trick, the lead singer.
Robin Zander.
Yeah, Robin Zander. His son was in and ended up getting me. He's like, oh, yeah, I play in the band. They were opening up for Poison, right? So he ended up getting me these, tickets or whatever, Rob
like Zander's kid did, or Rick Nielsen's?
Rob Zander's.
Because Rick Nielsen's kid plays drums for them now.
Yeah, Rob Zander's kid plays guitar.
He plays bass.
Or whatever.
Yeah, he filled in because Tom Peterson was sick or something. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So whatever. End up, sticking around for Poison, and, I appreciate, like I said, my sister was into them, and guilty pleasure. I like them, but I have to like Slayer more to be more manly, I guess, or some bullshit, whatever.
Right.
And, I got to say, I mean, Poison kicked ass. I mean, they have, like you said, they have this electricity. Even today, I thought, like they played Blossom.
Brett's got a lot of energy. Now,
he's the greatest front man. Dude, he's really good.
He's happy and he loves what he's doing. He does love his fans. And that's cool. That's
he's
cool
really good. I thought he got everyone going, and I thought it was great. I don't know. You don't agree with me?
Well, I could say the complete antithesis of that. Dude, I saw I forget, it was a triple bill or something at Blossom, and I had like third row seats, and it was, I can't remember who the opener was, but it was Cinderella, and then Poison was the headliner. Yeah. And after Cinderella played, Tom Kiefer's so talented that I was just like, oh man, Poison shouldn't even step foot on stage. And when they did, I don't know. I hope I don't offend people by saying it, but I was just like, man, like this is a band that like the luckiest band in the world, because like they're like basement level. And I don't mean that in any disparaging way, although it comes off that way. And like I said, I'm just telling it like it is, man. At this point, like I said, if you cancel me, you cancel me.
No, that's not even bad.
I still, there's like Cat Dragged In, man. That's a great song. That I do love that album. It was a very cool album for the time for what it did. It was cool, man. And even Open Up Say Yeah, the follow-up album was really cool. After that, I lost. I just.
Well, I'm talking about all the old classics.
Yeah, but like that night at Blossom, I was like, man, what am I watching here? Like, I'll never forget.
The one where Cheap Trick opened up?
No,
is that the one?
It was Cinderella. It was two bands.
That other one.
And Cinderella was the second, was direct support. And after Cinderella, they were so good. And Tom Kiefer's so talented that I thought Brett shouldn't. Not Brett. It wasn't Brett. Because Brett is a great performer. Yeah. But I thought, man, this is not going to look well for them, because they're just not as polished of a band as these guys. Yeah. And I remember that night, Brett thought someone was starting a fight with some girl or doing something, and he was in the middle of Something to Believe In, which is, to me, is a god-awful song. I know, again, man, like, I know people aren't going to want to hear that, but like, I've just never, it was never my cup of tea. It was just, I get it. People liked it for the reasons they liked it, and it's the ballad, and it's sentimental, and it's got meaning, and I'm cool with all that, and I'm not dissing it. It just wasn't my thing. I wasn't a fan of it. That's just me. But I remember they were 3/4 of the way through that song, and Brett made the whole band stop, and he said, "Stop." He said, "What are you doing to that girl right there?" And he's like, "No, dude, it's my girlfriend. I was just helping her out to her, like, he was helping her up on the seat. She wanted to stand up on the seat or something."
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, I misunderstood. I thought you were doing something, like, adversely or whatever." And he wasn't, and Brett's like, "My mistake." He's like, "All right, we're going to do that song over again." I'm like, "Oh, no." So I just sat through, like, 4 minutes of that song, like, the elongated version of that song, and now they started it from scratch. I was like,
"Oh boy,
oh boy is right, man." So I was like, "Oh, this is just not a good night," But yeah, so like that's why, like, people paint me in that corner where they think, like, I started saying about Bill Peters. One of the last interviews I did with him, where he was like, "Do you still listen to that?" I'm like, I mean, I do. If it comes on or whatever, it's like I'll listen to it, but man, I don't like go seek that out. Like, it's just not my thing, and it never was my thing to where, like, I lived and breathed it. It just wasn't, man. Like, even back then, even the Priscilla heydays, even the the days of all that, the days of glam, I was listening to Metallica and Megadeth and all that stuff, man. I went to go see those bands at the old Brooklyn Tavern and at the Variety and all those old school places. I loved all that stuff. I did. I probably more so than all the glam music. But that was just where I fell in, because that's where the chicks were at, it seemed at the time. And that's why I was like, all right. And this works for me. My voice worked better for that too, man.
There's definitely a lot more girls at a Poison concert than a Slayer concert.
That's right. Dude, I would go to the thrash shows back in the day. I'd go see whether it was Destructor or Shock Paris or Shock Paris. And I appreciate all those bands like Breaker, it's, to this day, one of my favorite Cleveland bands. But I'd look around, I'm like, it's all dudes here, And I'd go to a glam show, it's like, okay, 90% chicks and me, or 80% whatever. And it's like, this is where I'm going to be hanging out.
So going back to when you met Poison and became friends with them at the old Brooklyn, whatever. That's where you were with your band at the time, and so I just
my band didn't exist. Priscilla didn't exist at that time.
All right.
Right after that, actually during that time, Billy Morris and some guys from a band called Spoiled. They weren't even Spoiled yet. They had been a band called
For people
Beast.
that don't know Billy Morris, I mean,
he used to own the Hi-Fi, owned the Revolution.
Well, around Brook Park,
Yeah, played in Warren and Quiet Riot and some other bands. Cool. Kid Wicked. A lot less. Hey, Billy. No, Billy's good. Billy's been my friend since we've been kids, literally,
Nice.
But Billy was recruiting me, him and a couple, another guy from the band or whatever. Actually, the bass player at the time, a guy named Jeff Vinca, that I'd gone to high school with, they were trying to get me. They had been in a band called Beast that wore makeup like Kiss type stuff, and they were changing over, and they were going to be a glam band, but they're going to be a cover band glam band and do songs by bands like Poison and Stryper, Motley Crue, and stuff like that. So they were in transition. They wanted a singer. They were managed by a guy named Otto Neuber. He'd managed Love Affair and a bunch of bands like from the 70s, late 70s, early 80s in Cleveland. He was like a big shot deal management-wise. So he was helping them out, and he told them, you guys need a superstar frontman. So Billy said, I got exactly the guy we need. And he wanted me, so he was recruiting me to be a part of that band. So we got to, where we were going to do the thing, and we were talking it all over, and I went to go meet with their manager. He said, he was like this old German dude, and he was like, I like this guy. He's pretty boy. I like him. He's going to be big. And I'm not doing that accent very well. But, I was like, okay, cool. And I as it was progressing, I was thinking it over. I'm like, man, is this really where I want to go? Do I want to invest the amount of time it's going to take to do this just to play copy tunes? Because at that time, when you're 18, 19, you think like a year is forever. It's nothing.
I know,
like now it's like, I'll do it. Or, I'll give it a shot. What the hell?
Yeah.
But at that time, you think you're investing for life,
Right.
And I'm like, this is what I want to invest my life into. Right. I want to do the original band thing. So then I got, my dudes, and I put together Priscilla. There was, a couple guys from a band that were spinning their wheels doing their thing. And they wanted to recruit me. They wanted me to sing for them. The two guitarists of this band. And I said,
Well, I got to. Well, we'll go back to the name of the band. Was it after Cinderella or what?
it was.
So you wanted that similar kind of.
It was right when Cinderella was hitting big. I know people make that association, and there was Roxanne, not Roxette. Roxanne.
Yeah.
I think they came out after us, but like Cinderella.
I guess the female
Fox,
name.
there was all the female band names. Yeah, there was a lot. That was like the glam thing.
Yeah.
And it was very
because androgyny was definitely a thing.
Yeah.
You know?
So played into that, but it came from Priscilla Presley. I mean, it wasn't like it was an ode to her, but like we were stuck for a name because
you liked Elvis Presley.
I love Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
And we were stuck for a name because we had management at the time, and we were called Breaker Cherry. That's what we were like practicing under, and that was a name that
was it. Breaker or Break Her.
Breaker.
Oh, see, a little play on words.
It was a play on words.
Yeah.
Isn't that clever? Breaker Cherry. But obviously,
it's like the cherry poppin' daddies.
Right. Yeah. There you go. Okay, but a little cooler than that, I think.
Right.
But
I love it.
But yeah, Breaker Cherry. So we were called Breaker Cherry, and that was our whole thing. We had this whole like promotional campaign that we were like, we're going to call it the Get Laid Raid, and the blah blah blah, because that was what we pandered to that audience,
It's like, it's the whole like androgyny, misogyny kind of thing going on in the 80s kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
But our manager, who was starting to put a little bit of money into us, we thought it was money at the time. I mean, yeah, it was money, but like when you look back at it at the time, when someone's giving you a few thousand, $10,000, $20,000, it seems like when you're a kid, it's like millions. It's nothing, It's like, and the guy owned us, and that's unfortunate because it was really screwed us horribly. Like I've learned a lot of lessons at a young age from that. But so we were called Breaker Cherry, and then we were doing an interview with some local fanzine.
What year is this?
87.
Okay.
87 or 88.
Okay.
Maybe 88.
Damn, you look good. You look good, man. You're aging well, man.
So, thank you. So, I was a kid. But,
yeah.
But, so, he's, our manager was there during this interview thing, and we were sleeping on my own guitarist's house watching This Is Elvis on VHS over and over. Like, we're just getting drunk and partying, hanging out with chicks, whatever.
Yeah.
And watching This Is Elvis. And so the name Priscilla was stuck, like, in my head,
right.
Like, it was just, like, at the forefront, like I said, the androgynous thing, the Cinderella thing, the feminine thing, all that.
Right.
I'm like, okay, chick names are cool in glam bands. Like, what about Priscilla? That's a pretty cool name, I guess. It's different. So I told the manager, he said, you cannot use the Breaker Cherry name. You got to change it. From this point on, we can't go forward with that because I can't promote you properly with that name. So I said, what about Priscilla? He goes, I love that name. I go, really? He goes, yeah, do it. That's it. That was it. That's how I was born on the spot. I'm like, okay. Yeah. So like as soon as we did an interview, I said, yeah, we're Priscilla.
Oh,
and
nice.
That was where I was born.
Cool.
So anyways, to backtrack a little bit, so the spoiled thing that became spoiled, I backed out because I said I don't want to be part of the copy band thing. I want to do my thing. And that's when I got my guys and said, this is what we're going to do. And I had a game plan in place. I had my guitarist. I said, I got, ideas for songs. This is what we're going to do. I said, there's a band called Poison and Motley Crue and that. I go, we're going to do that. We're going to give Cleveland like an arena band, California Sunset Strip style band.
Right.
And we're kind of like the first band to start doing it. And we're the first band that came out in that vein that was doing all original. Like we're like from day one. And our first show out was at the old Peabody's that Tony Sewell owned.
Yeah.
It was a sellout crowd. I don't know how many people that place hold. I hear stories of over 800. I don't know how that club could fit that, but that's what I heard. If it could hold 800, there was 900 in there that night.
Yeah.
If it was 600, there was 700. Whatever it was way over capacity, man. There were people standing on top of the bar. You couldn't fit anything into that club beyond the amount of people. And like I always said, that night was like how the Beatles must have felt. Because I used to hear stories about how they couldn't hear their monitors on stage because the audience was singing so loud. You couldn't hear yourself on stage. So that night on the Peabody stage, people were singing our songs so loud. because our demos were all out there. We had recorded all the demos. And we were in the studio getting ready for us, and MMS had picked us up and started playing some of our music. So the response was so enthusiastic and so overwhelming. We couldn't hear ourselves on stage. Like literally, I couldn't hear monitors, not for lack of equipment, but just that the crowd was so overwhelming, and it was great. Like I always said, if every show would have been like that, we'd have been superstars, And then like stuff fell in line real quick from there. Like the shows kept getting handed to us, and mismanagement was always part of it, man. Like
really,
our manager just. Like I said, we were signed to him. He was a fifth member of the band because our bass player wasn't signed, and it was the rest of those 5-member band. The other 4 members were signed, and the manager signed himself on as an equal member. We're kids. He's giving us some money to record demos and pay for some staging and some equipment and that. So we're like, all right, whatever. We could do anything. You sell your soul at that age to be a rock star. That's what we wanted to be.
Right.
So stuff progressed quick, and we were selling out all the venues, selling out fantasy theater, selling out anywhere we play, and we were like the it band. And then we got on Z-Rock, which is syndicated radio. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like Wake Up the Neighborhood.
107.9.
There you go. That's it. Yeah. Wake Up the Neighborhood, which was like it was supposed to be an album. We recorded an album.
Yeah.
And then the manager said, nope, we're just going to release a single because we're going to make them wait, and the rest of the songs are going to be sold to the record company. Well, genius, Einstein, let me tell you something. These demos that we recorded, they're going to get us professional, big time. And we had Sean Bevan producing, who went on to do Guns N' Roses and Marilyn Manson, No Doubt, all these huge bands. He's still huge.
Yeah.
He's great guy, great producer, great engineer. He was really engineering, but he was kind of like we were kind of self-producing, but he was giving us a hand. We weren't paying him as a producer, we were paying him as an engineer, but it worked out that way. But so in a sense, he was our makeshift producer. So we're doing all these demos that were being recorded to be an album. We're going to self-release. We're going to do exactly. I had the game plan to do what Motley Crue had done on Leather Records, which was their own label. They're sold Too Fast for Love, and it sold so many copies that they got a record deal instantly. And we very well could have. We very well could have done that.
Yeah.
And that was the game plan. I said, listen, we're going to do this. We're going to advertise in Metal Edge magazine, take out a page ad, which was nothing at that time. But if you did that, you sold. And we're a good-looking band. And it would have sold, man. We could have sold. We could just Cleveland alone. We would have sold. You can't say 5, 10,000, 20,000 copies out enough that it would have turned all the heads out in LA.
So why didn't you? Wait.
Because he didn't. He wanted to save those demos that he had paid for. Release a single, just give the public a taste. Which was the Wake Up the Neighborhood single was huge. It did sell tens of thousands of copies. It did what the album was going to do. And it got huge. It became a top 3 song on Z-Rock, which was unheard of at the time. We were an unsigned band that was charting on Z-Rock. And then Lick and a Kiss charted, Love and Action charted. People were calling in when they were playing Wake Up the Neighborhood, and they said they thought we were a new Poison because we had a Poison type of sound, and I guess I sound like early Bret Michaels. I had that high end, thing going on with my voice that was popular. You
don't look completely different than him either.
Yeah. Good or bad, yeah. But so that was going on, and when Z-Rock took notice and we blew up on there, man, the record companies were all knocking on our door. So we're getting record deals handed to us. The best deal that came around was Atlantic Records came and gave us a full-blown deal. Wanted to sign us with professional this is the catch. They wanted to give us professional management, which is I think Lieber and Krebs at the time, which was doing like a lot of big bands like Aerosmith and huge bands. Obviously, they wanted to re-record everything and release, just like I said they would. And in his mind, he thought they were going to use the demos we recorded and release a full-blown, professional studio, big label album. I said, no, that's not how these things go. So here's me, the kid, telling this manager that he didn't have any idea of music. He just was a money man.
Where did you record at?
Great Tracks, which is where Trent Reznor was recording Pretty Hate Machine at the time, which is a whole nother story. Like
that's here in Cleveland then?
Yeah. Okay. It was. I'm not sure if it closed down. When he was recording Pretty Hate Machine, I remember him giving, here's a side story real quick. When he was recording that, he gave me and my guitarist the demo for that. They were him and Sean Bevan were recording that. And we'd hear him recording this weird stuff when we come in the studio. Like they'd go in they would record. They would get free studio time. Sean would be engineering, producing, and in exchange, the owners would give him free studio time. And Trent was an engineer there also. And one night, Trent, we were talking about his music. He goes, "Yeah, it's very different from anything anyone is doing. You know, it's industrial. It's this. It's that." I don't know if he even had a name for it at the time. Like, but I want to say, he said it's industrial. And we're like, oh, scratching our heads. Like, this is foreign to us. So I remember he gave me and my guitarist the demo cassette. I think it was a 3 or 4 song cassette. I think I do remember Head Like a Hole was on. That was, again, the only song not to be canceled out by popular culture. But and I know this is like, and since I've come around to liking a lot of stuff he's done and all that. But at the time he gave us that demo, and I remember we put it in our car when we're leaving the studio, and he said, make sure do not play it for anyone else. Give it back to me tomorrow. Don't make any copies of it. Just let me know what you think. And man, we're looking at each other, me and my guitarist, and we're like, God, this sucks. Like, this is noise. And like, Pretty Hate Machine or Head Like a Hole came on, and I was like, this ain't bad. Like, if like there was guitar in it, I think it could be cool, but it's just noise, and I couldn't make heads or tails of it. And so the next day we give him the tape back, and he's like, so what'd you think? Like, yeah, it's different, all right. Like, I don't know what to say to it, man, because it was, it was off the wall.
And you say you've come around now?
Yeah.
You kind of like some of the stuff?
I have an appreciation for everything. You got to figure at that time, man,
well, it wasn't had to have been shocking. Because it wasn't shocking, there. It wasn't out there yet.
Yeah, it wasn't like he was, the innovator of all that, because there was other stuff like that around.
Yeah.
But it wasn't anything that I had listened to or was familiar with, like everything I listened to was guitar oriented in some way, like a lot of the classics and like, the old Aerosmith and Zeppelin and 50s rock, which I love, and 60s rock and Motown and all that. But there was nothing that was like in that vein of, where he was going with his music. So to me, it was too mechanical sounding, I guess, I guess.
Well, like I think that's by design too. It does sound mechanical.
I guess that's where pioneers,
it completely stripped of all the soul, really.
And that's where like we were talking about.
That's actually good,
going back to the new Avenged Sevenfold. I told you, like the first 4 times or so that I listened to it, the first time I hated it. The second time I was really confused. The third time I was kind of indifferent, but like trying to figure out what the hell was going on. And like by the 5th listen, I fell in love with it. Absolutely fell in love with it. I haven't stopped listening to it since it came out, because I didn't give up on it because I'm a fan of the band. I do like their sound, but I did hate it when it came out. Yeah, because it didn't make any sense to me, man. It just and like I told you, it's like this existential piece, and I didn't know that's where they're going because I hadn't listened to the interviews leading up to it. Like, I wasn't a fanboy about the whole thing. I just went into it open minded, but I wanted to see what they did. So the day it came out, when I gave it a first listen, I thought, what the fuck are these guys doing? Like, and I told, my wife, I said, are these guys so high on themselves that they just think they could do anything? Like, they're just experimenting with sounds at this point, and it's not even making sense. They're just doing whatever the hell they're doing. And like, there's this piano piece that goes on for 6, 7, 8 minutes at the end. That Sinister is doing. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And what's funny is like now since then, I told you I ran into these kids in Chicago that were like big, Sevenfold fans, and they were like telling me all, and that was right when I'd fallen in love with the album. And I didn't even know, like I was on the Navy Pier, and like the kid had an A7X shirt on. I didn't even see it was a Life Is But a Dream shirt. I thought I just saw the A7X logo, so I said, hey kid, you a fan of the new album? He goes, I love it, man. I go, you know what? So do I. I go, but I hated it up until just the last couple of days. He goes, really? How come? And I told him why. I said, it didn't make any sense to me. I go, it made no sense. He goes, did you listen to M Shadow's interviews? I go, nope. But as I listened to it, I started listening to lyrics closer, and all of a sudden I realized exactly what they were doing. And then he explained to me, and what M Shadow's explained it was supposed to mean was exactly what I thought it meant, and that came all on my own accord. They didn't program that into me as far as telling me this is what you need to listen for and this is what it is. But it's what it was. And they said, it plays as one piece in Revolution. You can listen to it. Like it when it ends, it starts back over. And it's just as existential as anything that album represents. And it is. It just is. It goes on to infinity. Yeah. It means everything, yet it means nothing, if that makes sense. And lyrically, It's all that, and it's beautiful.
That's cool.
And like lyrically, it's so intense, and like I just, I'm going around the house reading these lyrics to my wife. I'm like, listen to this, man. I don't know if she gets it quite to the extent that I do, but I'm so into the whole death thing and what this is all about.
Yeah.
That I haven't stopped since the death of my father.
I think if you're not into that, you're not human, right? You know?
Some people, I think some people, and I'll just say, I guess they hide in a shield of religion, and they accept that, so they just accept it. Like I have
definitely
family and friends that you can't argue this point with them, and they don't fear death, but they don't question death. It's like, nope, this is the lesson, and this is a plan, and God wants this, and Jesus wants this. And it's like
they feel comfortable in the. And
that's fine. Now that's the armor of God, and I won't remove that from them. I won't take that away.
Right.
I won't.
If that's what people need.
Exactly. And if you want to worship a rock, I always say worship a rock.
Sure.
It brings you fulfillment and happiness.
Sure.
But you said you're in the Buddhist thing. I completely relate. But I know, like, there's Christians that I personally know that will chastise you for believing in Buddhism. And that's wrong.
Yeah, right.
That's so wrong. That's the cause of holy wars. In its essence, you've stripped that away. It's like I said, politics and religion are two things that we've warred since the beginning of time. We've killed over that. That's so wrong. Like, man, let people be people. It's the human experience. And maybe I'm so wrong because I don't know. I don't know the answers. Neither do you, and neither does anyone.
No.
Neither does the most holy person on earth, and neither does the most unholy person on earth.
Yeah.
None of us know. And there are people, and I've listened to a lot of back from the dead type experiences. Like podcasts or videos or whatever. People have said they've been on the other side. Part of me questions it, and part of me is like, okay. And actually, the ones that do make sense, they're very much, and this is funny because like I've discovered some lately, and they're very much in tune with what the Sevenfold guys are saying on the new album. And those guys have been on this discovering journey. Like since their last album, The Stage, I could see what they're really questioning mortality and life and death, and I get it, man. And it's like it's been an ongoing thing with me, with so many family members of mine that have died. Like it probably began with the death of my father. He died at a very early age 20 years ago. Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Like, what was it? And we were estranged, and I didn't really know him. But it's still, I got to know him in the very last months of his life when he died all of a sudden out of nowhere. It was just when I was starting to get to know him. He died out of nowhere. So it was like, rug was swept out from under me.
And was it like an illness, or was it just a heart attack, or what?
It was, It just happened all of a sudden. I'm just going to leave it at that without going into it. Yeah, it's just, and it wasn't supposed to happen. And it's just whatever took place. And it was just when we were starting to build a relationship where I was getting to know him as an adult. And he said, ask me anything you want, because like it wasn't good. And he lives in Florida, and my older brother, who's my half brother, it's not his father, but he raised him. But my father and I had a very bad relationship. It was bad, like, which made me.
Did you grow up with him? Was he in your life?
He was and he wasn't.
Yeah.
But
did you didn't live with him, or did your mother have custody of you?
Well, my mother essentially raised me. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the books.
Yeah. And we didn't see eye to eye. We didn't get along, and it was weird because my older half brother, like, to his last days, they had a good relationship, as good as you can.
And your
have.
Parents were separated, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. My father was in Florida. My mother was here.
Oh, okay.
And then like my brother was trying to talk me into going to see my father the last years of his life, and he said, Dad wants to see you so bad, like my father would send me birthday cards and Christmas cards and let me know he's thinking about me, but it just wasn't there for me. I said, listen, man, I don't need it. It's not for me. And then that last time, my brother calls me up and he says, and I knew where I was going to go because he did this all day. He goes, hey, Dad's birthday's coming up. And I said, I'll go. He goes, what? And I go, I know you're going to ask me to go to Florida with you because my brother would go down there like twice a year to see him. I go, yeah, I'll go. And so that was when we went. And at first, man, it was like we were just butting heads.
Oh,
me and
really?
my dad. Yeah, and we got into it. We got in a serious fight, and then you know what? I talked to his ex-neighbors.
Ex-neighbors. How do you do that?
Because he was with someone that was a terrible person.
Yeah.
And that took everything from him, and had his dog that he loved euthanized. And that was actually the story that was the catalyst. Because with my brother, when me and my dad got into it, I know this is all over the place, but we really got into it head to head, and it was just bad. It was ugly.
Yeah.
And I walked away, and then my brother got me and said, let's just leave. Let's go to the beach or get something to eat or something. And I said, all right, let's get out of here, man.
No.
And then, my brother said, well, why do you do this, man? Like, he's crying over you. I'm like, fuck that, crocodile tears, man. It's bullshit.
So why were you so upset though? I'm struggling
man,
with
that's
it.
That's a whole nother podcast, man.
Oh, okay.
That's an Eminem type podcast. Like, it was just bad childhood. Like, it was not good.
But you're holding a grudge though. What good is that? Who's it hurting?
It was no good.
More?
There was no good.
Yeah.
It just seemed like every time I would allow him back in my life, he expressed this authoritative. This is what you should be doing with your life.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
like
my
fuck
dad.
that, man. Well, there you go. It was like, no, man. I remember when my band started, this is for instance, he came to Cleveland and my band was just getting huge. And we were playing like a sold out show at like the Fantasy Theater. And like he showed up there. Like, I didn't know he was in town. He showed up. And I remember after the show, I'm on top of the world. And he comes backstage or wherever it was after the show. He goes, what's your fail-safe plan? I go, what?
Yeah.
He goes, what's your plan for when this doesn't work out? Mind you, I'm a kid, and I just play a solid show to hundreds of people, and I'm on top of the world. I go, it's going to work out. He goes, what are you going to do when it doesn't? that was my dad. I'm like, oh, fuck,
yeah,
man.
Where's the support?
Right. So, I mean, there was never any for anything that was my passion. So that was the problem.
Yeah, but we're older now.
That's the thing. And that's like, I got it out of my system. I went to go see him. And I got it on my system. And then after that, we started talking on the phone. I went home and, back to Cleveland. And we would, call each other. And he said, any questions you have, anything you want to know, any grudges you have, get it out now. Ask me. And, I'd ask him about shit. Like, well, why'd you do this? Why'd this happen? Well, whatever. So it was as cool as it can be.
So has there been a cathartic point in this? Have you reached that point, or is?
My thing really that I got out of it was that I shouldn't throw people away because everyone's got a story to tell, and if you shut them out, you're not going to hear that story. And that's the problem, is people do that all the time. And cancel culture, what the fuck is cancel culture about? It's about shutting people off.
You want more discussion, more conversation.
Because people are fucking stupid. You're never going to evolve. Yeah. And I use that word evolve, and I love that word because that's what we should all do as a species, man. If we don't evolve, we die. Yeah. And that's what people are doing. They're keeping themselves from evolving. Like, oh, this person wronged me. Oh, this person spoke bad. This person says something I don't agree with. Therefore, I'm going to shut them down. Yeah. I'm not going to listen to anything they have to say. Dude, and it happens to me over and over, and it continues to happen. And it happened when I started making movies in the local film scene, and it's just like,
which we're gonna get into, eventually.
Like, what the fuck is wrong with you people, man? Like, don't you want to have someone that tells you something that's different than what you? I'm not gonna. Again, I'm not going to pander to you and say, oh, man, you fucking, everything you do is great. Right. And that's what I see go on in these circles. These people that kiss each other's asses. And it's the same 100 to 200 people that kiss each other's asses, and they're not getting outside of the circle. I guess it's like, you're not going to grow.
Yeah. How many people like that do you know, though?
A lot. Too many.
Do you?
It seems to be like so many people. So many people.
In your daily life, you see those people
in the arts, in entertainment.
No,
I see
I'm
so
saying
much
in
of
your daily routine. How many people like that do you really see?
That cancel for no reason, or what?
Because I just feel like I'm going back to this whole war on Christmas thing, this cancel culture thing. Mm-hmm. Like the people that want to cancel people and I don't know those people. Like really? I don't know.
Really?
Like I have personally.
Yeah.
I have not personally come in contact with people that want to shut people down the way
That's
the
amazing.
media, the way the media makes it out to be.
Oh,
you know
God.
what I mean? Yeah.
Dude, Dude, before I rolled one roll of
what?
film on my first movie, Running with the Angels,
Yeah.
I had these assholes, and I'm going to use that word now, assholes that were coming out of the woodwork saying, we have to shut this guy down. Literally, in those words.
Yeah.
This is a virus in our local community, our film community. And we have, like, wait, what? What? All because of being a bad relationship.
Yeah.
Literally. Because I had a girlfriend. That I wasn't a bad boyfriend. And I could say that on record. But she was a very bad girlfriend. And it's just, it fell apart. And because of that, she got people involved that she had connections to, and they were trying to cancel me from within. It's like, what am I seeing her? What's going on? It's like, man, this is pathetic, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and I speak about it, and again, I'm not going to name names, you know, no reason for that, but man, like the mentality of that, it's like, really? And man, people go along with it. They do.
I guess.
They do, man. To this day, there's people in that community that, like, I'm the plague to. It's like, I heard, you know, he's outspoken and he this. It's like, what the fuck?
Well, again, that goes like, to honesty, because because you're just being honest with yourself. And come on, we're all fallible. As long as we're being honest,
they're the ones that got something to hide. If they're gonna like do what their crowd wants them to do, wants them to say, what are they doing behind closed doors? Those are the weirdos you gotta watch out for. Hate to say it, man, but it's like, I'm an open book.
Yeah,
you know, you get what you see is what you get, man.
Yeah, I'm honest to a fault. I've always said,
and that's why I like going back to Ronnie Radke of Falling in Reverse. Guy's a fucking open book, and I appreciate it, man. Yeah, like I said, man, the whole crowd that was trying to get him canceled from the A7X tour, and M. Shadows came. I said, no, man, this guy's he's honest. He has integrity, and I like it, and I like it too, man. Yeah,
and the whole honesty thing, man. I mean, it does get you into trouble. Mm-hmm. You know, and it really shouldn't. And you know what you're saying about that whole cancel thing. I always made the joke that, you know, I'd be canceled if I had even the smallest amount of fame or money. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I can imagine being on a national level.
And the thing is, when you're off the radar, you can't get canceled, really. You know what I mean? You can be as honest, and some people might think you're a dick or whatever. You know, but, you know, you don't get that. I think you can only get canceled if you have a certain amount of success, I think.
Well, I guess that's what it is. You raise your head above the crowd and people are going to want to shut you down, man.
That's right. Yeah.
And it sucks, man. Like I said, I've had that since I can remember.
Haters, man.
And they suck. They do, man. Yeah. Like I said, I was telling you this experience, man. Like my, I don't want to call it disdain, but my distrust of humanity happened. I was 18 years old, and I went to a party in Strongsville. There's kids I went to high school with, these rich kids. They're having this party at their parents' mansion. Their parents were out of town. They'd have these big-ass parties where the parents leave. And actually, my girlfriend at the time, we're there, me, my girlfriend, and her one friend, and her friend's boyfriend. And then I had invited her older brother, and he was friends with all the local guys in, like, Breaker and Destructor and Shock Paris, all those bands, whatever. So, like, this party was like a jock party, to put a label on it, you know, a bunch of athletes. The older brothers were all like bouncers in the flats at the time. They're all roided out, big musclehead dudes. So I show up at this party, and I was cool with everyone. So they, you know, welcomed me in. I'm there with my girlfriend, and the one dude kept hitting on my girlfriend. Oh, whatever, we're getting drunk, and, you know, I'm like, dude, whatever, you know. So then her brother shows up with some dudes from Breaker and that, a bunch of long-haired guys. I had long hair, but I was cool because I was in the crowd. I was in with them. But the dudes from Breaker and my girlfriend's brother at the time show up. Like, we can't let them in. We don't know them. I'm like, oh, come on, dude. Come on, I'll vouch for them. They're all cool. Yeah. He said, nope, they're not coming in. And looking back, I get it. It's a beautiful house. You know, some guys they didn't know. I get it. In my head, you know, I'm buzzed. This dude's hitting on my girlfriend. There's like a lot of bad, negative vibes. I'm like, you know what? We're out of here. If you're not going to let them in, we're leaving. I'm like, oh, come on, don't leave. I'm like, forget it, man. I'm like, hey. And I was being dicky about it. I told my girlfriend, like, hey, why don't you stay here? That guy will give you a ride home. He's been trying to all night anyways. And I'm like, huh? So all these guys follow us out to make sure we're leaving, that the whole group of us is leaving. But the older dudes, the older brothers, the bouncer dudes. They follow us on this front lawn, and I'm really plastered at this point. I'm like, man, this is bullshit, you know. And they all surround us. It was like some freaking scene out of like Rebel Without a Cause or like some old gang movie or something.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I had a leather jacket on, and it was like it played out right out of a movie. And I'm like, dude, you've been hitting on my girlfriend all night. Like, you know, now this is just a bad scene. Like, and it just turned rotten really quick. So as I'm shaking my jacket off, stupid, I guess if you want to say I drew first blood because I motioned that I was ready to rumble. Stupid. Okay. But as I did that, boom, I got clocked. I'm like, whoa. And then boom, 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 boom. Man, punch after punch. I'm like, whew. Then boom, I get knocked again. Someone connected. And these guys, like I said, these guys are all roided out, big dudes, man. Someone hit me. I got knocked to the ground. I don't know if I knocked out. I was out of it. They start kicking my face in, man. This is when everyone wore cowboy boots back in the day.
Really?
Steel-toe cowboy boots. They're kicking my face in. I got a broken cheekbone, a broken eye socket,
really?
Cheekbone. Oh, yeah, man. To this day, like, I got shit's kind of not right because of it. Like, it's, you know, I mean, everything looks right, but I could feel it, you know?
Yeah.
But, like, fractured jaw, broken nose. I was messed up, man. Messed up. As I'm leaving, man, my friends are dragging me to the car. They put me in my passenger seat. My buddy's driving the car. One of the dudes is clocking me. Dude, mind you, I'm passed out, incoherent, bleeding all over the place. He's punching my window. I didn't want to bust my window, so I rolled the window down. He clocks me again a couple times. They're like, dude, stop it, you know? So they stop. My friend pulls away, whatever. I'm a mess, dude. So my girlfriend at that time, like I said, this goes to my distrust. This is my whole point.
Sure.
This elongated story.
Yeah.
So I'm a kid. I'm 18 years old. You know, I grew up with no trust in my family system, not a supportive, you know, parenthood, father, whatever.
Right.
A lot of weird vibes there.
Yeah.
So I'm 18. I get shit kicked out of me. And then that same girlfriend that I had entrusted that, you know, and again, I come from a broken up, strange, you know, household.
Right.
You're looking for someone to confide in that. So I was girlfriend at a young age. Just a year later or so,
probably like the worst.
We're broken up. You know, whatever, break up. Like I cheated on her. I guess, you know.
Hey,
I mean,
kids.
Right, we're kids. I mean, we're kids. So you know, she's holding a grudge, even though like, she wasn't much better, to be honest. But she's holding a grudge about it. So she was, I hate to say it, but always out to get me. Okay, so like I see her at a party in Cleveland a year and a half after this happened. She saw me. You know, I didn't look human after that. My head looked like a basketball. You know, I'm a bloody busted up mess.
Sucks, man.
And just a year and a half later, she pays some guy to clock me. I'm walking out of this. You know, I'm partying at some
who does that?
A dick, fucking asshole. I mean, I don't know. I could.
How much did it take?
I don't know. I heard rumors she paid the guy $20, $25 each.
Wow.
Maybe she banged him. You know, chances are she's a good chick. You know, so that's probably who you know. Like I was trying to hook up with her. I don't know. Which the story that I was told by the other girls that invited me to the party was that she said she'd give him $20 or $25 something to cold cock me. So me and my buddy I remember we're filling up our cups out of the keg in the house, and we're walking out. We're walking down the back steps of the house.
Pay like $40 not to punch you,
right? But he's like, hey, you know, you Brad, you know, yeah. Next thing, boom. The next thing I know, I'm knocked out. My buddy's shaking me awake. He's like, dude. I wake up, my nose bleeding all over the place. I got busted nose again. I'm like, what the fuck is that all about, man? You know, and the dude hightailed it out of there. He was gone. But it's like, so like, you know, everyone's fucking kicking my ass doing this shit. And like, I didn't do anything wrong, you know? But like I said.
I think that's just being kids, man, isn't it?
Yes and no. But man, like that forms who you are.
Sure. Absolutely.
So who are you going to trust?
You're right.
You know what I mean? Who are you going to trust? This shit keeps, and that kept parlaying in that, you know, that happening.
There's a whole history before that.
There was so much hatred, like in that scene.
Right.
By those people, you know?
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Why? I don't know, man. And it continues. Like, and it always ends up being about a bad girlfriend and a bad breakup, a bad relationship, you know, and it's like,
you know,
the
girls
haters
are to say a
come
bad
out.
boyfriend, you know?
Yeah. Like, and it's like, come on, man, really? You know, it's like, again, man, you know, I try to be a cool dude. I try to be a good dude.
I think you're a cool guy.
Thank you.
I
think
don't
you're
know.
cool.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, but no, I think no, yeah, you're definitely here. I'm like drifting over this way. I'm like out of camera.
Uh-oh.
You know, but
Want that beautiful Chris Daughtry looking mug.
I know, right?
Center stage.
Yeah, well, I can't sing like that. You know, I wish I could.
He's got a great voice.
You know, yeah. No, I guess.
It's too bad you can't, man. I'd be your agent.
Right.
We'd make $1 million.
I want to go back to Priscilla. So you were playing out with Priscilla. Why did that end?
Okay, well, I guess it just played its course, but it kept coming back in different formations. But, okay, so to go back to the story that we left off on that.
Yeah.
So, okay, so Atlantic Records ends up, they're the ones that give us the deal of deals at the time. Okay?
Right.
They're offering us huge tour. I mean, like big name, big arena tour. Big time management, re-record the album, go to New York City, do everything, do it all top notch, get us off on the road, capitalize on what's going on Z-Rock, capitalize, because like that lightning, it hits, like they want to understandably capitalize. It's like, wow, we could do something with this.
Right.
You can make, Poison case, in point, you can make a lot out of a basement garage band,
Sure.
Not that we're the most talented band in Cleveland, we certainly were not, but whatever happened for the right reasons at the right time. Like we hit pay dirt, whatever the right look, right sound, whatever.
Right.
So they offered this great deal. Our manager would not sell. We met with their A&R people. He would not sell.
Sell what? Like
us,
what?
because we were signed. He was on our contract, and he owned us.
Right.
He was signed as ownership of the band. When they had offered him a monetary figure, and again, I keep thinking this figure was $80,000, but it might have been less. It seems high, but for some reason that number sticks in my head. It's like they offered him a one-time figure. We're going to pay you this. We're buying your band off you, and then we're going to own them. He wouldn't do it. Would not do it. And I said, why?
Just rename the band.
He said, dude, we're kids. We didn't know.
Yeah, right.
We didn't know what to do, man. I was begging him, literally begging him. Like, I'm calling him. I'm meeting with him. I said, I'll give you anything you want. I will sign a private deal with you, a backdoor deal. I'll give you parts of my royalties. I'll give you part of anything you want. Please, just let me do this. You're messing up my dreams, man. Like, it's all right here. Like, lightning hits once, man, and then it's gone. Like,
what
you
was his answer?
He said, he goes, why would I be stupid enough to sell you guys for $80,000 when I'm going to be a millionaire because of you guys? His exact words, he said,
but he's got to have the money.
He goes, as far as I'm concerned, you guys are the next Beatles, which is ridiculous.
Right.
But that's what he said. He goes, that's what you guys are to me. He goes, and, I mean, that's ludicrous, obviously, but he said, that's what you guys are. He goes, and that is what I'm going to capitalize on. I said, but please. I go, no, it's not the way it's going to go, man. Please. I'm a kid and I knew better. I knew. Yeah. I followed it. Like I said, I followed this industry since I was a little kid, reading Kerrang! Magazine in the lunchroom at junior high school. This is what I did. This is what I digested this stuff, and it was my curriculum,
Right.
He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do anything that I'm telling him, Tony, we need the album. We need a full page ad in Metal Edge. He goes and gets a little tiny ad in the back of Billboard magazine. Billboard, what the fuck is that? Like, the industry insiders read that. Yeah, guess what? Our fans don't. No one's gonna fucking give two shits about Priscilla.
All right.
He's like, but trust me, the A&R people, the record company people will take note. No, the fuck they won't. You know what they take note of? The almighty dollar bill. Unfortunately.
Right.
And when we move 10,000 albums on our own or more, they're going to take note. You can't ignore that. But he fucked it all up, man. He did. And like I said, anymore, I don't give a shit, man. I'll call it like it is, and this is what it is, So he ruined my dreams, man. I begged him, and it never came around again. Not today. Once it played out, man.
Right.
And we could never capture that lightning in a bottle again. And it drifted away, and we did tour after tour. We would try to, we did a lot of, and then we changed management because things ended badly for him, man. He had a nervous breakdown, and things did not end up well for him, unfortunately, And he's passed away. God rest his soul, man. Nothing against him as a person, but it didn't interfere with my career. As a person, man, guy could have been the greatest guy in the world. He was a nice man, but...
So what did you guys do after that, though? You were
spun
touring,
our own wheels.
you said?
We self-managed, tried that, and then we ended up with Spotlight Talent, Mitch Karczewski.
So wait, wait, hold on. I missed something. So he had you guys, and then you got rid of him somehow?
Man, he kind of felt, by the way, it disintegrated, right? It disintegrated.
Yeah,
When all
okay.
it disintegrated. He was with us
After
for,
how
he was, when the money,
After how long after that you got that deal thing, and he said no?
It was, I'm going to say a year and a half, 2 maybe.
Okay.
It was a while. It
Okay.
had spun its wheels. He was making money by booking us at, like, he would book like the Fantasy Theater, and he'd take 100% of the prop, everything, and right in his pocketbook and all that,
Yeah.
recouping his
Costs or
expenses, whatever.
yeah,
Yeah. So when it wasn't making money, he was overbooking us. When it wasn't making money he didn't play anything right, man. He did not. He could have had a cash cow there for the long term.
Yeah.
Mitch Karchewski, who was our next official manager.
Yeah.
We had like some help from some bikers and stuff like that were like just grabbing the reins and doing stuff with us along the way. And then we hooked up with Mitch Karchewski, who saw viable cash flow
Right.
with us. And he had actually managed Spoiled before us, which was the band that,
Okay.
wanted me to sing for them earlier. And then they had disintegrated. They broke up. But he saw our potential, and he signed us. And he actually, again, God rest his soul, man, but like he did some cool things with us, man. He put us on some really cool tours.
Yeah.
With like Pretty Boy Floyd, Hurricane Alice, Sweet F.A., man, so many, all the bands were coming through, and like that little point in time.
Right.
He was doing the right thing. I'll be quite honest, man. At that point, I was so fed up with so much. I did get cocky, arrogant. That was, if there was any moment in time that, like, I wish I could have used my head better, but it had gotten, the rock star thing had gotten the better of me. It had, at that point. I thought I was a big shot. I was a big fish in a small pond, People knew
Were you
my
guys
name.
touring a lot? Were you guys?
Yeah, we were touring a lot.
Yeah.
We were doing a lot of cool things, man.
Yeah.
I met a lot of cool people.
Were you doing international things or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then I and this sucks. I wish I would have followed his lead. He ended up taking Mushroom Head under his wing.
Mm-hmm.
He helped them out a lot.
Okay.
According to him, I mean, depending on who you talk to, he did get them their record deal with Universal. He had a lot. I mean, he had big time connections in that. Like, and again, like, if anyone watches this from that camp, they're probably gonna be like, "Oh, you're a dick, dude. He had nothing to do with that." Because I know they were butting heads. It was a bad situation, and it was funny because my band had reformed right at that juncture in time, and he was using us as to take a stab at them. And he was like trying to get Roxy to dance on stage with us, and he was like trying to implement the whole Mushroom Head thing. He was going to use everything they used to get them locally famous, their popularity. He was going to use. He said, "I'm doing this with you guys." I go, "Mitch, that's not right, and it's not going to work for us." Like, and he was like, he used their font, like, just as one example, for our logo. Like, he changed our logo to the Mushroom Head font, like, just things like that. And like, he was like, and all these people from their camp to try to get to our side. This is just gonna, man, really rub feathers. And I don't know, behind the scenes, I know, like, some of those guys didn't care for the whole Priscilla thing because, again, we were the antithesis of what they represented.
Yeah.
So, we were a laughing point to some degree. So I don't know if he was using it to get an underhanded stab at them, or if he really thought there was a potential in it.
I don't think it was laughing. I mean, people that are going to be into you are going to think they're crazy. Like, what, you know what I mean? And people that are into them are probably going to do the laughing thing or whatever. But
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
I don't know.
I think it goes both ways.
Yeah. I wish, and here's where communication again, man.
Yeah.
I was guilty of what I was doing at that point in my life with my father, with people in my life. And I was like, man, I'm not going to deal with this. This guy's going to respect me for who I am and what I have to say. I'm not going to even deal with him. I got in shouting matches with him. Like, right before he died, I got in some really serious shit with him. And I regret it to this day. I wish I could apologize for a lot of things that were said. My father and Mitch.
Oh, okay.
Both. Yeah. But really, in the end, like, the last conversation Mitch and I had, the last time was over the phone, and it was not good, man. And it sucks because he passed away soon after that. And we never got to make amends because I remember when I was putting my band back together at some point, like after the first couple years of the breakup, then we're getting back together. I remember I just called him out of the blue, and it was like kind of late at night on a weeknight. I thought I was going to use his answering machine, and I think this was in the days of answering machines. So he heard my voice, and he grabs his phone right away. I go, dude, I didn't expect you to answer. He goes, I will always answer the phone for you. Yeah. He goes, there's a couple people in this town I'll answer the phone for, and you're one of them. And it was very cool. That was very huge of him to say.
Right.
He goes, I've always believed in you. He told me that straight out. I remember back in the day, he's like, this is in the glammy days, and that he goes, you're going to be Cleveland's David Cassidy. I'm like, what? David Cassidy? What the fuck is that?
That's weird. As soon as you said that, I see David Cassidy now.
I used to get that a lot when I was young.
Yeah.
Like,
wow,
David Cassidy,
that's so weird. As soon as you said that, it came into my head. Yeah. That's crazy.
That is weird shit like that does happen. And I got a lot of stories about that kind of
David
shit.
Cassidy.
But like, I'm like, Mitch, what the fuck is that? And that's the kind of shit we would butt heads on. I'm like, Mitch, I'm not a fucking teenager. I'm not gonna be. He's like, yes, you are. He's like, whether you want to admit it or not, that's who you are and who you should be, and you should embrace that. And I didn't want to be that because I don't know what, I just didn't want to be that. I want to be more like an Axl Rose. Well, not that I want to be Axl Rose, but like I wanted to be that kind of a thing. Well, I want to have a voice, and I was always different. Well, but I had something to say.
But you've said honesty a few times over and over again as we've been talking, and and. Something, it sounds to me like everyone around you is talking about something that seems to be contrived, something that is not completely honest. And I think what I'm hearing from you is that you don't want this contrived, whatever, trying to be something else. Mm-hmm. You want to be honest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. And that's exactly what it is. And like in those end, there again, like when you listen like the bubblegum pop glammy shit that we put out in the very early days, Priscilla. And like again, when I got the band back together, I told Mitch, I said, I'm not gonna do like Wake Up the Neighborhood or Licking a Kiss, because you have to. I said, no, there's no fucking way. I go, that's cheeseball shit. He goes, your fans expect that. I go, Mitch, that's not me anymore. I was 18 or whatever when I wrote that stuff. I said, that's not me, man. I can't sing that kind of shit, but I get where he was going. He's like, would Frank Sinatra go on stage and say he's not going to do my way? He's like, it'd be an outrage. I remember him having that exact conversation with me. I go, I don't give a fuck, and this is, again, us butting heads and me being a cocky, I don't want to say kid at that point, but cocky young adult.
Right.
And it does suck because he knew better. He did. Yeah. Sometimes you have to listen, like, wisdom of age. You do, man.
Yeah,
and he knew better.
Well, but you have to have trust, to do that. Yeah. And we've talked about the trust issues.
Yeah. I remember Mitch getting into. There was something that went down with Sabotage right before they became TSO, or some of the guys broke off.
Oh, Transit.
Yeah, because like they weren't doing as well as they could or should as Sabotage.
I'll tell you, Trans-Siberian Orchestra is doing okay.
Oh, exactly. It's cash cow. That's why they went that route. But I remember him getting into it on the streets of New York with those guys. Man, I remember exactly. Something happened with money. I know some of the personals that I don't even want. Like, he's not here to defend himself, and I don't want to say. But it's just funny stories like that ring out in my head, and I always think like, well, if he did that to them, what if he's doing that to me, or would do that to me? And that's. Unfortunately, the whole thing with him and Mushroom Head and that, I know because I was there. I mean, I was in the offices when Skinny would be making phone calls to Mitch. I'd be sitting right there, and Mitch be rolling his eyes and when he got his speakerphone or whatever. And I'm in the middle, and I'm like, I know where Steve's head's at, Skinny's head's at, and I know what Mitch is doing because he's done this to me. Not badmouthing him because, it's business, and I get that, man. And I remember, actually, Dave Felton was in the band at that time, and I remember him coming over to my house, and I was sitting in my basement, and he goes, should we trust Mitch or not? It's straight out. I go, and I told him, here's the thing, man. Good dude, man. Big heart. And he knows the right people in the right places, and he knows to an extent what he's doing. But again, like, it was kind of the position I was in years earlier with Priscilla with management, that they wanted either self-manage or professional management. Now Mitch, because he was a big fish in a small pond. Wait, Yeah, that's right.
Small fish in a big pond?
Small fish in a big fish.
Big fish in a small pond.
Big fish in a small pond. Yeah, I got it right.
I don't know.
Because, yeah, he knew the ropes. He knew a lot of people. And he knew how to call a lot of shots. But, I see for the good of the band where things are going. And that's why Dave was asking me these things. And I'm like, here's the way it is. Here's my personal experience. And here's what I went through with him. So make up your own mind. And I didn't either party in any way. I just told it like it was, and I said, if you think this is good for your band, then this is the way it is,
Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna?
What can you say?
I guess. So, all right. So then, Priscilla's over. So what are you doing after that?
Well, I did. Okay, I moved to Florida for a bit. You know what? A lot happened after Priscilla was like in the end days.
Yeah,
we played some record company showcases. I remember actually one of the last ones we played was at the Empire.
Right.
Tony Ciula's club, managed Manson.
Okay.
And Trent Reznor was there with Sean Bevan and this guy Ron Cole that was from Columbus. He fronted a band called the Trillionaires. He overdosed and died some years ago.
That was right next to the cemetery, right downtown there. Yeah.
Really cool club.
Yeah,
Awesome
it was
club.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember Trent hanging out backstage, and it was right before he blew up. I want to say right before he went on Lollapalooza. It was right before he blew up, though. But he was having a tough go of it. And one of the reasons he blew up on that Lollapalooza tour was because his concert, the NIN shirt, people didn't even know what that was. But Axl Rose wore that in the Dead Horse video when Guns N' Roses were like the biggest band in the world.
Right.
And everyone saw him wearing that shirt, so they were buying that shirt because they wanted to be like Axl. So that shirt became a huge seller. And because of that, the name got out there. Like, things probably would have happened either way as history played out, I guess. But that was part of that was the beginning of what was to come. And it was before all that happened. But I remember like Sean and Ron and Trent, coming backstage and congratulating us on a great show. And like there was still potential somewhat, it seemed.
And this was when you were managed by this other person after you tried to self-manage.
That was Mitch, yeah. That was Mitch. Mitch got us that record. Yeah, that was Mitch Karczewski. And he got us that record showcase.
Okay.
I was going back and forth to Florida at the time. I was like spinning my wheels. There's a band called Tough Luck that I was starting to sing for out there. I decided not to go with. But I was going back and forth. And then I wound up moving there for a bit of time with my old roommate friend Nick, who passed away 2 years ago. Like everyone in my life has passed away.
Sure.
At this point,
the older you get,
dude, it's gotten stupid. Like again, that whole why I'm so into the whole like existentialism thing and the A7X, the new album, and that, and it's like the relevance of that to me is real strong.
Right.
And I can't get it out of my head, but so I was going back and forth to Florida. And one of our guitarists had left and joined the Marines, I believe. At that point, we replaced him with some guy from Columbus. I'll go on record saying, he was a real fucking arrogant prick. He was, man. He was like the superstar guitarist on Columbus, and we got him, and he was, joining. Mitch really wanted him in our band. He's like, oh, that's going to be great for your band. Record companies are going to love him, and, he's great. Like, back then, he had hair past his waist, which was the big deal, and I'm like, okay, and I remember that show at the fucking Empire he played with us, and that motherfucker wouldn't get out of center stage. It's like he just sat there, he planted his fucking ass from the beginning of the show, and just put his fucking feet out, like spread them out wide, and just jammed, and just soloed through the whole fucking show, through my songs. In the middle of the stage, I'm the front man, I'm trying to talk, and I remember, I'm like casually trying to nudge him out of the way, and he wouldn't move. He fucking would. He was just a prick, man. And again, man, I can
so
say that
funny,
now,
man.
and I'll say it. And you know what? He's apologized to me since that.
Yeah.
Like as time has gone.
What was his reason for doing that?
He's a fucking dick, an arrogant prick, man. That's what else can you say about that kind of an attitude? And he told me after that, like, actually, I came back to Cleveland from Florida. He moved to Florida for a while, and he was at my buddy's place out there, Nick's place. And Nick put him out. He's like, hey, man, I'm not going to use his name, but he's like, he's at my place, he wants to talk to you. I'm like, yeah, I got nothing to say. And he's like, oh, just talk to him. And he's like, hey, I did a lot of dicky things, man. I'm sorry, I was young and arrogant. This, that. Well, okay. So was I. but I was also a quote unquote a professional.
Yeah.
And I knew my place. I knew what worked for the sake of the show. And we're playing a record company showcase, and you're in the middle of the fucking stage soloing all night. You know, it's like, oh, dude, it was a mess, man. It really was. You know.
That's funny. So he wasn't even playing the guitar parts. He was just solo.
He was playing, but he you know, he was playing, but he's turning everything, flashing the hell out of everything.
Yeah.
And just he just wanted that spotlight on him the whole night. It was just arrogance, man.
It's
like
weird.
that's all it was.
Well,
like,
it's not a team player because that doesn't seem like a band playing. You know,
there's nothing about this, but there's other bands that would have knocked him out on stage. You know what I mean? Really, like I was cool about it, and I just I had nothing to say, and I just left. And I told Mitch afterwards, I'll never play with that guy again. Fuck that guy, man.
Yeah.
You know, seriously, and I'm not that much of a dick. I am a perfectionist, and you know, people can call me control freak or whatever. Yeah, because I have a vision. It's not being I guess you can construe it as being a control freak.
Yeah.
But I know I have good business sense, and I know what works. I kind of always have. I've always had that savvy for that. And I just like people follow suit, you know. And if you have a great idea, throw it my way. And if it's awesome, man, we're gonna run with that,
right?
You know. And I always have. But you know, if you're just being a dick for the sake of being a dick because of your own arrogance, then fuck you, you know.
Yeah, it's just weird.
I mean in the best ways, if that's possible.
Yeah, I just don't know that I know too many people like that. You know, most people are cool for the most part, right?
See, man, we must come from completely different crowds.
I don't know. Yeah.
Like I said, man, my distrust of humanity stems from this early, you know, this childhood trauma and all this. Man, I don't know.
There are shitty people, and there are bad things that happen. I get it.
So many people do so many bad things, man. If you give them an inch, if they could get something out of you, they're gonna get it, man. Like many people,
for sure,
so many people,
for sure.
And it's always, what can you do for me? Not, you know. Can we be friends? Can we help each other out? It's like, okay, if I help you out, what are you gonna do for me? You know, like or what's it gonna get me? You know, I see so much that, and again, and friends have told me, they're like, dude, it's that entertainment scene, it's a music scene. That's why these bands burn out, man. That's why people shift, you know, gears so much, because it's so hard to keep that family together of a brotherhood of a band,
right? Because
of differences.
Well, first of all, being in a band, I've said, is like being married to like intimately with multiple people. You know,
it absolutely is.
And you know, it's really hard to have a really intimate, close relationship with one person, let alone like a bunch. You know, but I, you know, you said the entertainment scene, and I mean, yeah, there's a business part of music, which is, I think, what you can call the entertainment scene. You know, that's the business part. But then there's also the expressive part. And I'd like to tie this in with like the whole, everyone's like, oh, AI, you can just have AI write a song or do artwork or whatever. Well, I think that just makes the human expression worth more. You know what I mean? You know, because like I don't, at least me, whenever I create, obviously I haven't monetized it at all, but if I paint something or do something or whatever, it's the expression of creating something, you know, and just and expressing yourself in some way that language and words and symbols can't do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's that aspect of just making music and being a musician, and then there's the whole business part of it. You know what I mean?
Which is ugly. most times,
you know,
man, it comes to that. Because once money rears its head, again, it's the vision, man. Like, all of a sudden, it's like, me. Well, I wrote this part. I wrote that. If percentages are coming in, if royalties are trickling in,
right?
Everyone wants that, you know, because you get to the point in life. It's like, so I'm driving a Ford. I could be driving a Porsche.
Yeah.
Well, shit, if I get more royalties, I'm going to get that. I could get a bigger house. And then, you know what I mean? It's just the progression of things, and everyone wants their bigger piece of the pie. And then it gets ugly. It just does, man.
I know.
And I could go, I think we have mutual friends or acquaintances, wherever, that I could go right down the line and say, money is what split things up so many times.
Sure.
And it keeps splitting up the pie, you know?
You see it happen with families whenever, like, the mother or father dies or whatever.
Dude, I've seen so much of that. Like, even directly, personally.
Yeah.
I've seen people that their families didn't speak for years,
Right.
a decade, over
Right.
money.
Right.
Over freaking money. It's like,
No, it's
even
silly.
if it's like, just say a few $100,000 worth. What is a few $100,000?
Right.
You know, in the really
Right.
in the big sense, in the
Yeah.
big picture. But people,
It's a symbol.
families, entire families are divided over that.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
so
yeah.
terrible. And then people die, and it's like, oh shit. I wish I would have got to say my goodbyes to him. Well, you didn't, because the almighty dollar was more important to you than that guy's friendship, or
That's
that guy's
right.
love, or that person's love. You know, it's like, oh, it's shitty, dude.
You make movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have, yeah. Yeah. Getting further into cancel culture, yes. Yes, I have.
Okay, so when did that start? So, I mean, because it seems like you were busy with the music, but
Yeah.
maybe when you went down to Florida, you got into film or something?
No, that happened. The film thing happened long after. When I came back from Florida, I started a band right away with one of my good friends, Sean, that passed away of cancer 2 years ago, two and a
Yeah.
half years ago. But he was trying to start this band, or he was practicing with some guys, and I took over. This is actually the Marilyn Manson thing. He was starting his thing in Florida, and like it was Marilyn Manson and Spooky Kids. Like, he was just starting out. I was down there, and I struck up a friendship and acquaintance with him. People mutual friends introduced us. Actually, the first night I met him, I was at a bar called the Button South, and he came walking in with this whole Portrait of an American Family shtick, like the whole striped nylons and the shorts and the lunchbox and all that. And he comes marching into the Button South, and I want to say my friends and I was there with this band called Tricks that the bass player was gonna, Alan Vine. He ended up going on to play with Impotence Sea Snakes and Vince Neil and a bunch of other bands. I think he's a roadie for Motley Crue now. But I was hanging out with them, and they're all glam to the hilt.
Yeah.
And Marilyn walks in. I'm like, who's this guy, man? And he comes walking in with the lunchbox. Oh, that's Marilyn. He's cool. And he was all makeup on and shit. It was really different. And I was like, what the fuck? And, I'm ripping on him, but, I'm like, it was like the Skid Row thing was going on at the time. So it was leather,
Sure.
ripped up jeans or whatever. So that was not right of me. Like I said, I was an arrogant punk at the time. I was, at that point, I own it. I was for a minute in time, and I learned my lesson, But like, whatever, the degree of popularity I had went to my head, I guess. So Marilyn comes in, sets up shop at the bar, opens up his lunchbox, puts little army soldiers all around his beer that he ordered. What the fuck is going on, man? So my friend's like, dude, he's from Cleveland. He's from Canton or whatever. But they're like, close enough, Cleveland. They're like, you'll like him, man. We'll introduce you. So, whatever, he's telling me about what he's got going on. And he was doing his thing. And he was just doing, like, he had recorded drums. Like, it wasn't a whole live thing. It was him, I say Daisy Berkowitz and, Gigi. Where the bass player, I think, the keyboards, whatever. It was like two or three of the dudes doing their thing, and they're playing like little small places. And I was like, this sucks. Like, okay, whatever. But he wasn't really, doing a lot. But I like I like the concept of what he was doing, like the whole serial killer, like movie stars' first names, serial killers' last names, and the shock rock acts. Like I said, I always love shock rock.
Oh, I think he's excellent. Yeah,
there's an avenue for this, and he was like, he idolized this band called Saigon Kick, which were for a second in time, I was in a band, a local band. He'd moved, the drummer Phil Verone had moved up to Cleveland, and we were in a band called Romeo for 1 second, practiced a few times, never played out. But he moved back, and he became the drummer for a band called Saigon Kick that was huge. Signed to Atlantic Records, and they were like the big thing. And Marilyn Manson idolized, everyone out there idolized those guys.
Right.
So that then, like, Marilyn was trying to do a takeoff on what they were doing, and they were trying to be out there, but they weren't nearly as out there as Marilyn was or was trying to be. And Trent Reznor actually. Marilyn Manson was doing a thing for like a local scene magazine type thing or U.S. Rocker type thing out there, like a local music publication. And he interviewed Trent when Trent was doing a show out there, I think maybe Lollapalooza. Trent said, you have a really good tone to your voice. Do you sing? And he said, no. And he goes, I think he was doing poetry at open mic nights or something. And he said, you should sing. And so they were kind of like putting it together in that way. I may got a little bit of this wrong, but it's pretty damn accurate. So that's where that progressed into being. So Trent signed a developmental deal with them, and that's where everything took off.
Right.
And that was all happening. And like I was watching that as it was happening, and then I moved back to Cleveland. My buddy Nick kept reporting back to me. He goes, he's like, I would always check in to say, what's that Maryland dude doing? And he'd tell me, and he's like, dude, he just signed a deal with Trent. And I'm like, no shit. And I'm like, wow, maybe things will happen. And you know what happened. He blew up.
Sure.
But when I came back to Cleveland, I said, this is what I want to do. And for just for a minute, I got together with these guys that were trying to do a band. And I said, we're going to call it Massacre on Broadway. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be, everything's going to be over the top. And we're going to throw Alice Cooper at him, and we're going to throw Kiss at him, and we're going to it's going to be fucking out loud. And Jane's Addiction. And the music was very Jane's Addiction-like. What we wrote like 5-6 songs in a very short amount of time. And it was very early Jane's Addiction.
Yeah,
like
with
Ocean
some theatrics.
Size type shit, like Nothing Shocking era Jane's Addiction.
Yeah.
It was cool. And I'm like, and it was like what Saigon Kick was doing, like musically kind of doing. And
Right.
Saigon Kick was very influenced by Jane's, because Jane's was huge in that Southern Florida scene at that time. They were huge.
Right.
They were the it band out there. So they were taking their influence, and then I was being influenced by that and by what Maryland was doing. And it was funny because I ran into JJ and Jeff Hatrix at the time as they were starting Mushroom Head.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if I'd already broken up my band. Like, the band didn't go far. And the drummer was just awful, and I couldn't do it. My patience wasn't there. I was just spinning my wheels like, oh, I can't do this. Like, every night he's playing different beats and fast speeding up and slowing down, and I'm like, I can't do this, man. I just can't. So I just said, well, and it's sad because, like, we were onto a good thing. And I remember the bass player, my buddy, and the guitarist were begging me, like, dude, we wrote such great stuff. Like, we did it so quick. Like, can't we just keep moving forward with this? I'm like, I'll give it some thought, but I don't know if I could do it, man. Not with that dude. We'll get someone else. But we practiced at the drummer's house, and he had all this kick-ass equipment.
Yeah.
He had great recording equipment, and he actually was friends with Trent Reznor.
Yeah.
And he had all this great studio equipment. His parents, like, financed all this shit, and I'm like, well, where are we going to practice? Where are we going to do this? Where are we going to record, whatever. I said, oh, fuck, man, I don't want to just keep spinning my wheels. So I remember when I ran into Jeff and JJ, and they were telling me what they were about to do. They're like, yeah, we're going to do this band, and it's going to be like exactly what I said. We're going to be way over the top. And I can't remember if he was already out or just coming out at that time. But I do remember, I remember having the conversation and saying, dude, this guy in Florida is doing just that. I go, that's what I want him to do. I go, and that's a great idea. I go, if you do it right, I think it's going to go places. That was in its infancy, man. Like I said, I don't think they played enough. They might. I can't remember if they got together to practice yet, but I remember just JJ was so hyped about it, and he was telling me what they're going to do and how they're going to dress.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's cool, man. Like, I give my green light. I'm always into the theatrics. So that was that. That was Massacre on Broadway. It came and went. And then a little bit after that, I started another band with some dudes in a band that used to be in a band called Snow White and some other guys. And we wrote some really great stuff. And it was a basement project, and we were practicing. We were recording all these great demos. We were throwing out all these different names. At one second, Lionheart. We're like, what about Lionheart? That's kind of cool. That's so stupid. I was going to use another term, but it's so like I think back to that now. It's like, God, that's stupid, but like I don't know. I was like, that's kind of cool, but that's so stupid.
Well, it's like what I heard, like Korn was saying when they named their band Korn. It was like, well,
that's pretty awful.
But you make it.
You do, like
you
the
make
Beatles.
it.
What the fuck is the Beatles? You named after a bug, But
well, it's genius because they spelled it different. They spelled it like a drum beat,
right?
But
you're right. You don't.
That's genius.
Like even like Kiss. What is Kiss? Like the band becomes synonymous of the imagery of what it portrays, I guess.
Yeah.
So like the actual connotation of what the name represents,
right,
is lost and shouldn't be there to represent the band.
Right. Exactly.
But anyway, so like we were recording and doing some great shit.
Yeah.
And man, that one just kind of fell apart. I think we just let it sit too long in the basement. Like we were recording, for like months, 6 months maybe. Like we were just doing demo after demo. And like I said, we were out of some really cool shit.
Yeah.
And then that just fell apart. I don't know, man. I don't know what the fuck happened to that one, but it disintegrated. And then, I don't know, man. Some time went by. I put Priscilla back together. That kept coming and going, man, throughout my whole life.
Yeah.
It's just been a mainstay. And it's just been here, man. And it was always a band that commanded attention and instantly got recognition.
Right.
Record companies want a piece of it. And booking agents overseas would say, oh, I heard Priscilla's back together. We'll put you guys in the clubs out here and that kind of shit. So it's always had the power of the name, you know. Like
Even now?
Even now.
So you're still kind of doing that, or?
I just played a series of shows up until December of this past year.
Because you have another band, though.
I had Slitt.
Okay.
There was Slitt.
Okay.
There was Slitt that was before this last incarnation of Priscilla.
Okay.
I had Slitt that was around for a few years, several years back. I don't know, 5 or 6 years back. That was Slitt. That was like a very European new sleaze metal, which is what it's just a new version of hard rock, of Guns N' Roses meets Motley Crue meets LA strip music. Going on in Europe and like the Backyard Babies and Crash Diet and the Helicopters and all that stuff. There's great stuff coming out of it. That whole like the Dahmers and like bands like that, Razorbats, fucking great. There's so much cool shit going on out there.
Yeah.
That I don't know why people aren't aware of. In fact, it was funny. Me and Tony Erba, throw out that name. We were talking online a couple weeks ago, and he was throwing something, like he was sending me a bunch of videos and stuff. I go, dude, what do you think of like the Dahmers and Razorbats? He goes, I never heard of them. I'm like, you're kidding me. And it caught me by surprise, because I know he's like a huge Helicopters fan. Like that's one of his like favorite bands and that. And like these bands are new and they're relevant and they keep putting out new stuff. And it's so good. Like Dahmers just put out something new. Razorbats just put out something new. And they put out this great shit, but no one knows who the fuck they are. And they're so good, man. They're like so good. But anyway, so Slitt was like my offering to that. Like, it's what I wanted to do. And I really love that music, like to this day. Like, and like one of my other favorite bands of the last couple decades, the Biters from Atlanta. They're from Atlanta. They're one of the only American bands I really believe in. They came and went because they signed a record deal and they owed the record company so much money, disintegrated the band. And it sucked because my buddy Tuck, that was the front man of that band, was the opening act for the Crew, Def Leppard Crew Stadium tour. He got that opening spot and then COVID hit. He disintegrated the Biters, which should have been a monster band. 20 years ago, they would have been playing arenas. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
They're so fucking good.
Yeah.
But it disintegrated because they signed a deal with Earache Records, which is the big underground hardcore punk label, and Earache was putting some money into him. He had the same problem I had with my management through the years. They put money into him. They put him on the Hymn tour. It was the Hymn farewell tour over in Europe, and they were playing some big venues with them. And it cost so much money. They owed the money. All the money was owed to the record label, so he just couldn't go on with it.
Right.
So if he put out anything else, any merch he put out, anything was going to have to go to the record label.
A lot of bands nowadays are saying that they can't go on tour because it's too expensive.
Yep. You only make money on merch and that, and then if you sign to a label that fronts it, you're in debt.
Yeah.
You're selling your soul. So he started Tuck Smith and Restless Hearts and recorded a great fucking first album that the record company owns and was never able to even release it. He was literally, it was about to come out right before COVID hit or right when COVID hit, and COVID destroyed everything, which was my last movie that I was about to take off. Got fucked because of COVID. I had it all set to film, had it all cast, had everything set to go, and then COVID hit. So that fucked all that up. But Tuck Smith, it ruined dreams of a lifetime for that dude, because he was about to get on the stadium tour, which if a guy like that would have got on, I think he would have got enough of a break. People would have loved him. He dusted a lot of the stage with a lot of those acts because he's just so good. But nothing, So anyway, that was Slitt, and that came and went. It saw its day. We played a lot. And that I took to I did the right thing when I brought Priscilla back this last time around. I was going more mainstream, I guess. I was hooking up with, me and Billy Morris were doing a lot of shows together with Kid Wicked and his bands. I was playing to a different audience. Like with Slitt, I was playing Lakewood in Cleveland. I was playing Peabody's, and I was playing the 5 o'clock. I was playing the Spitfire, and I was playing Now That's Class. I was playing those clubs, and that was really what I wanted to do, because those are fucking. There was a lot of energy there.
Yeah.
Like I told Billy, I said, Billy, he goes, he was complaining about crowds and getting the same people. I'm like, Billy, you're playing to the same demographic. I said, the best thing I did in the last 10 years of my career was to play to a different demographic by getting out there in that underground scene.
Right.
And that was, dude, I'll take that any day. And when I'm figuring out, I'm trying to get my footing on where I'm going to go with things moving forward. I need some players that have heart. I need someone with conviction. My last go around, like all of a sudden, like I don't know, we're making waves. Like we had a really hardcore following that was into what we were doing. We were playing good shows that were really enthusiastic about what was going on. And I was seeing new faces, and people are in it, and they knew all the words, and there's power, there was energy.
Right.
And then my last show that I did, which was the night before Christmas Eve, I believe, December 23rd. We had that whiteout blizzard. It was the worst blizzard of the last few years.
Was it just this last one?
This last one, 2022.
Yeah.
And we had this big show booked, and me and Billy. And as it was, I mean, it wasn't a total loss. People could say what they want. There was over 100 people there. Not bad for a whiteout, for undrivable conditions, which it took me an hour to get there from my house to there. My house is about 50 minutes away from the venue.
I remember that.
Yeah, it sucked. It was miserable, but we did it.
I had to drive downtown.
Yeah, but
at the same time,
you know what? You know what I did, man? Again, man, I don't give a fuck about cancellation anymore or whatever. I'm not ruffling feathers. I'll keep it in the best light. But I must say, made the mistake of putting together. I had 2 original members from my original incarnation of Priscilla, the original band that I hadn't played with in years, and my guitarist was that was in the band at that point at Priscilla. He had back surgery, and so my original guitarist stepped up to the plate. Then I had Dougie Manross, who was a killer power player, shredder. Plays with all kinds. Plays with Tim Ripper Owens. Plays with Tough.
Right.
He's great. He's gonna be big. He's a kid now. He's 23, I believe. And he's fucking great powerhouse shredder. I mean, people are blown. Like Bill Peters was like, "Holy shit, where'd you find that kid?" Like when we played the JCU thing. Yeah, I know he's great. But I put my old drummer and my old guitarist in there, and my drummer was had been bugging me for years to be part of it again. I kept saying, no, it's not going to work for whatever reasons. And there's so much politics involved here. And the main reasons were, and again, it was people, that said they didn't want to play with them.
Right.
That he's now playing with, which is weird, which is the irony in that. It's like there's people that I was instrumental in, not instrumental, things will be what they would be, but like I tried to bring harmony to these people because they had differences for years. I said, man, just talk. We should all talk. We're at a point in life where we should all be friends and we should all get along. It's like all we have left is the time we have left. So let's make peace. Let's make amends.
Sure.
And these people were like throwing middle fingers to everything, and I said, come on, man. So in the end, all of a sudden I put it all back together, and then whatever, these people decided they'd rather play country music than play rock and roll, I guess, which is weird.
Well,
but because I don't know, it's just strange to me.
There's some similarities
again, I'm through trying to figure things out, and God bless them. I wish them nothing but luck. But luck. But just that just brings me back to what the earlier statement I just made was I need players that have conviction, man. Like if you tell me you want to rock and roll, you want to kick some ass, and you mean it, you want to play with heart,
right,
and really go for it. Yeah. You're my dude, and I want you to be my dude, and I want you to get up there on stage and play with me and put your balls into it, put your heart in it. And this is it. I'm gonna say I get it. This isn't your permanent paycheck. This isn't I'm not paying your mortgage. I get that. So I have no say in the matter. And that weakens me. If I was cutting them $1,000 paycheck every show or whatever, or
but if you were paying somebody, you wouldn't find the people with heart then.
Right? But I don't know where heart's at anymore. I really don't. I've seen it all. At this point, I've seen it all. And that's why people come and go, man. It's like, I'm through trying to figure things out, man.
The people that are playing with heart are going to do it regardless if they're getting paid or not. You know?
Well, yeah.
I've always said, it's like, yeah, you can do whatever. Let's say you're a great artist or whatever, and you paint these pictures, and it's like, just give them away for free until they're in demand and people are asking for them. Then you can start charging for it. You know what I mean?
I've always been part of that, dude. I've always said that. I've said that to people. There's people like that hate me because like artists, like, international artists or small time artists that are so pissed because people are streaming their music and getting their music for free and bootlegging their music. I'm like, appreciate the fact that they're listening to it at all. Right. In this day and age, man, you can't fight the fashion. You cannot fight what's
Isn't
going
that
on.
what it's meant for anyway, man?
It's all about expressing yourself, and it's all about art. To me, it does. It's
That's why I said
about that heart.
There's the expression part and there's the business part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I get it. Everyone needs to make a living.
People are attracted to it because of the expression part.
Those guys get so bad. I remember back in the early days of Napster, there was something that you could track how many downloads something got. And Priscilla had gotten, this was in Napster's infancy, had gotten, I don't know, 1.5 million downloads or something of our early demos and that. And I remember my friends asking me, aren't you pissed about that? I'm like, why the fuck would I be pissed? They're like, you're not getting paid for that. Imagine if you just got like a $1 a song or whatever. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not, maybe they wouldn't be paying for it then. Maybe they wouldn't pay. But they're getting it. I go, and that's opening up my audience, and that's bringing me to where I need to be.
Sure.
And it did. And because of that, man, I'm recognized around the world. I remember when I first started getting this all this like this fan base from Norway and from Sweden, from Australia, Argentina, and people, tell me, dude, they play in the clubs here all the time. We have glam metal nights, and they play, Priscilla all the time. I'm like, that's fucking great. That wouldn't be if it wasn't for the capability of people to download that, and have access to that. If it was just on vinyl or just on a CD, people might never hear that, So just get it out there, and eventually people love it enough, it'll find its way. I've always thought, I've said about everything. It was the same with the movie thing, man. Like the guy that I work with at movies was like, we had a huge parting of ways on the vampire movie, which was the second movie we made together that I originally wrote the original screenplay, and then he rewrote it. But
you said the second movie though, because I'm kind of curious about the first movie.
Running with the Angels was the first movie, which is great.
And how'd you get into doing that though?
Oh man, I just I've alwais been in the movies, always followed directors, always loved the creative process. It's all part of it, man. It is. It's a form of expression. And what better way to express yourself when you could film something and, create the whole experience, the whole three-dimensional experience, more so than just lyrically.
Sure.
So anyways, like I met some people, I made some connections, and not the connections that people would like to think. And I'm going to leave this very vague because I'm not even going to give credit where people think that try to draw out credit from this that have laid claim that I'm the one that set them up with this. Or no, you fucking didn't. The people that think that have expressed that, no, man. But so, through a gathering of minds, through people I knew, through connections, I had the screenplay that I had worked on. It was based on... I had deaths in my family where cousins of mine had overdosed, had died. And one uncle, four of his children had died systematically one year after the next. So my thought was, and sounds extremely morbid, it's not meant to, but it can't come off sounding any other way. But I always said, I expressed to people around me, I said, because I thought in terms of making movies, and I thought documentary, and I thought, how powerful would it have been if I was rolling a camera and just documenting the suicide of his first son, shooting himself, if while I was documenting that, while I was interviewing a family, how this affects the family, and now the second son dies of an overdose. Like, holy shit. And then the third child, and then the fourth child. While this was all going on, the story is unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, it really, I to this day, I find it hard to really believe what had transpired, how things went down, how one family can be so affected by the death of all their children. Like, it's fucking ungodly. If it all happened to one, if you had 4 children and all died in a car accident at once, understandable. Like, fuck, that's horrible.
Well,
horrible. Yeah. But it happens, and it has happened.
Right.
But one year after another, from different circumstances, systematically, one year to the next, just when a family starts to heal, they've experienced another death of a child to the point where it extinguishes their entire being, their whole purpose of wanting to live. That, like when his daughter, that I saw her life support get shut off.
Yeah.
After she was, I was there witnessing that, and she was an 18-year-old girl, and before that happened, I remember getting drunk in my uncle's basement. Again, this is creepy, morbid, whatever connotation you want to put on it. But I said, man, you are such a strong person. I don't know how you persevere, how you make it through this. I said, and he pointed at his daughter who was sitting behind us in his basement and said, that girl, anything happens to her, get out of my way, because I'm going to take you with me if something happens to her. He goes, because I'm checking out, and you're coming with me if you try to get in my way. And he said that. And a year later, that little girl was on life support. And I remember standing there in the hospital, and, like when you're in a coma, she was in a coma, and like she was like smiling and doing things. And I guess like what the nurses would say, that's just, your body just does that. Like you're gone, but, it's just your body reacting to different things, sources around you. But he kept saying, see, she smiled, she could hear me. And, and in my head, I thought, well, if there is a God source, it can't take his last child, not the kid that he said, I'm checking out if she's checking out. And then I was seeing it happen before my eyes,
Right.
And all that happened. And I remember, like I said, as all that went on, I just remember I kept thinking, and this is my creative way, my artistic way, not autistic, but artistic way of dealing with the world around me. And I've always thought in these terms, like, there's a lot of, people that have an artistic soul, heart. Mm-hmm. You express yourself through your art, and I remember thinking, man, if I could only show people what has transpired with this family, in a film. This movie would be the talk of the Cannes Film Festival, the Sundance. Mm-hmm. People wouldn't believe what happened. Like, if I could film it as it was going, even after the fact, it wouldn't be as powerful. You could compile it through home movies, and then I guess you could do it right. Dateline does this stuff all the time with like presenting a story, and you think it's like actually going on, but it's like, oh wait, this happened 10 years ago. But you could recreate those things, not quite as powerful, but I guess it can be done. But that was the source material over what happened with Running with the Angels, my first film. I'd written a screenplay, but it was also based on me and what happened in my life and things I'd seen. I was going through real dark depression, really, really horrible times. And I wanted to show people what I felt was going on in my head. So the screenplay was that. And the world I'd witnessed around me and the drug addicts I'd witnessed that came into my world and bad people that came into my world at that time that had affected me adversely in awful ways. So I put that all down on film, and we had a good working relationship, me and the people that were involved with that. We did this real well because I had it all mapped out. I knew exactly the vision I wanted, what I wanted to do. So that was Running with the Angels. Now that movie actually got picked up for distribution.
Sweet.
And but it happened quick. Our lead actor that I personally picked, I wanted someone that looked the part, but I wanted someone that was going through misery just like I was, that was dark, that had a darkness about them, that had been affected by something. So I'm auditioning people, I'm interviewing people, and I got this guy, not naming any names, but he's in prison right after the second premiere of the film.
Wow. He
went to prison for 10 or 15 years. I want to say it's 10. He I guess took a plea bargain on something. But something really bad went down. So, I don't know. I don't know the facts of any of this. I don't know. I've talked to people. I've heard things. I've heard both sides of the story. I've seen things on both sides. None of it points to anything good. So again, it's just another one of those things of people, man, like you say, you know, most people are good. Man, I've had so many run-ins with people. And not even saying this guy's a bad guy, because my personal experiences with this guy, they were good.
Yeah.
We were cool. He looked up to me, and he was cool with me, you know. But what happened, there was obviously something really dark going on underneath, because something really bad happened. Really bad. And it shelved the whole thing. And when that happened, the distributor folded on it. They said, you know, we can't, there's nothing we could do. This movie's untouchable because of circumstances, because it was that bad. So that was that, you know. And the film, you know, it was alive. It got a cult following on the internet. Like I said, I checked for you because I wanted to send you the link. I think it's taken down, or the guy that had it up took it down, or I don't know.
Nobody's got like a physical copy somewhere.
Yeah. I do have a physical copy somewhere. I have to dig it out. I do have a physical copy because people have told me, they're like, dude, do something with it. It's great. It's a great movie. It really is. Yeah. But like I said, the guy that I cast, man, was like, you know, he had I wanted like a James Dean type of swagger guy look. Yeah. I wanted someone that looked GQ, but was as dark as the darkest parts of I don't know, Marilyn Manson or whatever. You know, like just fucking dark.
Yeah.
He was my dude. I was like, this is the guy, and he played it. He pulled it off. He played it well. Because it was real, you know. Like there was nights on the set, man. Like the shit that he brought out, it was real. Like I would coach him, you know. I direct him. I said, and I would talk through things. I'm like, hey, remember you told me this story about this and that? Remember when your father did this and then that happened? I go, how the fuck did that make you feel? And we talk about it. Yeah. And he's like, and he would start crying. You get emotional, get fucked up. I'm like, all right, man, let's roll. And then boom, we do it. And it was there, man. It was captured on screen. It was as real as fucking real gets. Wow. And it was a dark, dark movie. It was dark as shit, man. Made you want to take a shower when you got done watching it. Because it was just so seedy. It was all about the underworld of heroin addiction and suicide and everything bad that could possibly happen to a human being happened. It was all hurled onto...
This is the second one now.
This is the first movie. This is Running with the Angels.
Still, really?
Yeah. This is all Running with the Angels. And like the whole movie, like people are like, well, because they knew it was largely based on my life and things I'd seen. And I'm like, were you a junkie? No. It was a matter of his being an addict. But people that floated in on my life, they were addicts. And they were bad people that did bad things, horrible things. But and they affected me. However, the whole movie was the addiction part of it was a metaphor for my depression that I was going through, that I was working through at that time. Okay. So like it mobilized. But how do you bring a physical face to the face of depression? You kind of can't. I mean, you can. There's one way you can, and it does play out in the film, and that plays itself out. If you know where I'm going with that, because it does have a surprise ending that, like when audiences saw it, like the premiere, we had like this packed house at the Atlas Cinema, and the lights came up, and it's funny because I watched like interviews with other people. They're like, you don't know what people are thinking when everyone's quiet, and it was like that. And I was sitting next to my actor, and everyone's dead quiet. And then you could hear sniffling, like the lights were coming up, and you hear sniffling, and people were crying. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Yeah. And people loved it, and all of a sudden everyone gave us a standing ovation. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm like, high five, dude. You know, it's cool. And then we did like a question and answer. It was supposed to last, I don't know, a half hour or something. And it went on for 2 hours. And they had to let us know. They're like, dude, the theater's closing. So you got to, we were that into it. And they just kept going and going with the questions. They were all about it. And it was great. It was a great feeling. And everything worked that should work except for the end point, which was what happened, which was out of my control with the actor, But I picked the right dark dude, but he was a little darker than I had even anticipated, So that was that. Nice. And that led into the guy that helped me with that. That was the technical end of that. And he was a technical mastermind. He was great at editing, at doing soundscape and things like that. And he, saw a script I had, a vampire movie called Pharisee that I had laying around. It was like a cross between Sid and Nancy and The Lost Boys. More like Sid and Nancy. There was a movie called Only Lovers Left Alive that it kind of gave me my jumping off point. I watched it, and it was I saw it as, I know where this guy's going with it. Like, nothing happened in the movie. It was just two junkie vampires. And I think they actually were junkies in the movie, and they just hung out in this flat, and nothing happened. But it was cool. It was a cool vibe. We went on for like 2 hours, and I'm like, if this movie had something that drove it, it would be a fucking winner. So I took that and ran with it. I said, all right, man, I'm going to turn Sid Vicious, like, not literally Sid Vicious, but a character like that into a junkie. But he's going to be a blood junkie. He's going to shoot up blood with a hypodermic needle.
I was going to say, wasn't he a junkie anyway?
Right. Well, yeah. So that's where that all came from. And so I had this character, and then along the way, he met a chick that was like his Nancy, I saw it, in a sense. And it turned out she was a vampire too. She was the yin to his yang. And she was like meeting guys on dating sites, on social media, and like bad guys that like were just unsavory type of people. And they became her victims. And that's where she was meeting them on dating sites. And, she's this hot chick hooking up with dudes and then killing them. And then he just stumbles upon her in my story at an art gallery. And he knows there's something going on because they just meet eyes. And then it all goes from there. And it's a play on mortality and like everything else lately in my life for years about existing and about where we are and who we are. And there's mortality. There's a question of mortality. And the guy questioned his own mortality, and he couldn't die. And like there was a thing in the script where him and his wife that had died years before used to go watch the sunrise all time down at Edgewater, ironically. And there was a reason for that, that I wrote that in my script. And that part of the script remained at the end, which there was no point for it in the script that ended up being. But it remained because it was a powerful story point. Yeah. So he kept that part in. Like, he kept the aspect that the guy was like loosely a Sid Vicious kind of guy, and he shot up the blood with the hypodermic. And the sunrise thing happened. He did meet a chick in the movie, but he turned it into like an underworld type of script, which is like my character. I played the lead vampire, and I was like a super anti-hero. I don't know, man. I was like Morbius or something. I don't know what the fuck it was supposed to be. Like, we're filming, he's giving me one page at a time. I'm like, dude, nothing's happened, but I'm just killing chicks. It's a blood feast, and it's just, I don't get it. Like, we're making a big mess, and I'm bloody every night, and like, he's like, oh yeah, you're blood hungry. You're you're just having a bloodbath because you're just you're on the prowl. And I'm like, yeah, but what's driving me? What the fuck? Where's the rest of the script, dude? He's like, well, I'm rewriting it. So then I'm like, dude, from this point forward, I need a script. I can't move on with this. So he gives me a script. We're like a third of the way into it, and I had a lot of friends involved with the movie at this point. A lot of people, behind the scenes or on screen, and he hands me a script, and I'm like, what happened to my script, dude? Like, what is this? I don't know. I can't make heads or tails of this. But I was already invested, and everyone got involved was invested. And I said, man, we got to talk, dude. And we never talked. He kept putting his girlfriend on the phone with me after that. Like, I would call, I'd be like due on set, and he's like, I'm like, I need to talk to him, man. She's like, well, the time he's getting set up, whatever. Wow. There's always an excuse. So I was like, oh, man. And I'd get to the set, and he's like, hey, dude, I got food for you. I got some booze for you or whatever. Like, and he was cool, but I get what he was doing. He was oiling the wheel to keep it going. But we needed to have a serious talk about where things had, what did it turn into? Because I didn't want my name associated with. So did it come out at all? Or? It came out. Oh, yeah, it came out, and that goes back to the ownership. The way thing. You want it, or no, I would never put my name on this, but it came, and when it came out too, I got distribution for the movie. I got distribution out of L.A. This guy that he puts out stuff like on Blu-ray and DVD and puts it on Walmart and whatever else is left, Circuit City, online, wherever you could buy stuff. He puts out like exploitation type movies, like drive-in type movies. And it was going to be on whatever, Chiller Channel or Tubi, Pluto, wherever they put this stuff. And he offered, and up front, he offered us. And I was negotiating things, but I was negotiating with this dude, the other half, who just going to go nameless, for sake of, I won't name names anymore. Whatever. Yeah, right. It is what it is, man. Good or bad. It happened. It's a point in my life. You learn from it, Sure. I can't even hold a grudge anymore because it happened, I try to keep the good from that, you know. I was sad because I was pissed off because I invested a lot of time into that, and it was going in a good path. It was going big really quickly. Like all of a sudden, it's like, okay, I put this thing together. We put this thing together. I orchestrated it. And all of a sudden, I'm getting distribution deals, and this is going in the right direction that every other one of these dudes in Cleveland that's spinning the wheels for 10 years in the underground and doing home movies and trying to get a deal. I just did this for us twice, back to back, within 1 year, twice, you know? So it's like, and I told the dude, I go, listen, this guy's negotiating with me. I go, I want you to negotiate. Here's his number. And he wouldn't. And he kept telling all the other people involved, he's like, I don't trust Brad. He's out for himself. I'm like, dude, it's not about me. It's about you and me and all our friends, everyone that's involved. Right. Let's get our name out there. Let's put this out there, man, because this is only good's going to come. I go, this dude's a producer. This guy will invest money into the company, into your company. You do these types of movies. I don't want to do exploitation, but you do. He lives, and this is his bread and butter. He will finance, not only will he pay you for this movie and upfront, but he'll take it, he'll get it all out there on every channel you can get it out to, and he will finance your next movie if it's cool, if he's up with it. You know, you show him a script, and this is what this dude's about. He's cool to talk to. He'll go with it. But he likes the fact that I'm on these movie posters for this movie. He likes the trailers. Sight unseen, he'll put this movie out. You know, I didn't tell the dude, hey, this movie's a turd. I wasn't going to, offer that, but it was. There's nowhere. This is just me. Maybe there's people have told me they loved it. They're like, dude, what do you not like about it? They're like, it's like the Lost Boys, man. Like, but you're like the only Lost Boy. I'm like, well, it's kind of the idea in a sense, but I don't see it that way. And then here's the thing, too. Again, this is me being overly critical and being a perfectionist for my art. I only want my name attached to things that are going to leave a really powerful legacy behind at this point. I understand things. I'm older. I'm wiser, man. Yeah. Like musically, I wouldn't make the same mistakes I made back then. This dude's much younger than me making these movies. So I said, man, listen, learn from me. Take my advice, please. He's like, I'm taking the advice of others. He's taking the advice of guys that are spinning the wheels and have done nothing, man. The guys that are in Columbus, I'll say that much, making movies, and they're getting some movies out on some channels and that. They're not treading any water. And I'm not saying good or bad. I'm just saying I understand what these guys. He's like, I'm taking their advice. Okay, well, what about my advice, dude? I have 30 years of experience in this entertainment scene. I know what's going on here. Let's get it out there. You'll get paid for it. Otherwise, this thing's going to sit in a basement in your parents' house, collecting dust. I go, or you get it out there. I'll think about it. Well, first of all, he wouldn't take my calls directly till someone else intervened and got us on a three-way call. And then we had a really good conversation for 3 hours or more, man. It was like going into the night. And we were laughing it up. Everything was cool. I'm like, all right, cool. We're on the right track now. We're on the same page again.
Right.
I'm like, dude, let's not have this interruption in communication. I go, communication is king, man. Let's just keep things on this track.
Yeah.
And go from here. Let's learn from this. And no sore feelings, man. No hard feelings. Let's just move forward. And let's do the right thing for everybody. And we had other movies planned. We were like, saying this is what we're going to do.
Right.
He said, yeah, I agree. Everything was cool. He's like, yeah, absolutely. I agree. All right, cool. The last time I ever heard from the guy. Other than one call, he did take one brief call. Like, all of a sudden, he started blocking me on social media and shit. Like, wow, this is weird. Wow. He had control of the movie. He had the finished movie in the can that he wanted. And he kept rejecting this distributor. I said, man, listen, this is our only chance with the guy. You don't know that. He's like, I know what to do. I know how to market this thing out. He's like, I'm like, according to who? Yeah. And he was telling me these dudes in Columbus he had some experience with that were making movies out there. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, so then what channel are you going to go? What direction are you going to go? And none of that happened. He goes, they told me to self-distribute. I'm like, what? So, I said, man, I go, dude, you're shooting yourself in the foot with this. So he goes, and he just kept telling me he doesn't trust me. I'm all about myself. Wow, man. So I go, this is how much I'm out for myself. I sent him every bit, every email, every correspondence I had with this distribution company, everyone involved, all the phone numbers, everything. I go, I'm right. I'm removing myself from everything. I go, as far as royalties and this, that, have at it. It's yours, dude. I'll sign off on everything. Yeah. I just want, at this point, I want it out there for the sake of professionalism, for the sake of having something that we can use on our resume, because that's what it's all about. I said, we put out the biggest underground film of the year to come out of Cleveland, or whatever, in that sense. We have that distributor on our side. We get this out to all the channels. Everyone's going to take note of that. All of a sudden, that's going to open up the next door and the next door. And like you said, man, if you put out something cool, eventually someone's going to take notice of your art. And that's what it's all about,
Yeah.
And when you open that door, it's a green light, man. And then you go from there. This guy closed doors. He's done nothing since, really, that I know of, And after I had these conversations, then he blocked me entirely. Right away, went on whatever his social medias, his web pages. He said, this movie will premiere here, and this is what I'm going to do, and it's going to be out on my personal Amazon.
Yeah.
After that, it's like, what the fuck, dude? Really? Okay. Like, I don't know if he thought that, like, I don't even know what it costs to stream it on a personal Amazon, $2.99, $3.99. I don't even know what you get out of that. But only thing I could figure is that maybe he thought in his mind that if he got, I don't even know, 10,000, 5,000, 20,000, I don't know what his figures were, his demographics, his analytics. If he thought, wow, if I get $3 from each person, that means I'll get cha-ching, but it's like,
right.
Dude, small fucking potatoes. I guess maybe, and this is going to be taken the wrong way. I don't mean for it to. I guess if you live in your parents' house and you really don't have much to show for, again, and I know if this were to find its way to him, he's going to be like, that fucking dick, this is why he's a dick. Dude, how else am I going to put it? I guess, if you're talking $50,000, $60,000 in the bank, I'm just talking figuratively.
Yeah.
And you're living there. It's like, man, I got an old beat up 20-year-old car, and I live in my parents' house. I'm not making any money, but all of a sudden I'm gonna get a payday, I guess. Well, what else could there be? I don't know.
I guess. Well, okay, that whole thing. I would argue. I would have to say that somebody in that situation. I mean, if you're doing it for the paycheck, ultimately it's a bad idea because.
Well, yeah.
Well, ultimately, because then you're going to find yourself doing something you don't want to do for money, and you could do that working for any company or any employer.
Go, man.
You know what I mean?
Rich.
Whereas if you're really making the art you want to, and then hey, whatever, you can still punch a clock, do whatever, and then you can still make the music you want, whatever. And if something becomes of it, then you'll be able to.
That's always been my thing, dude.
Much better. With art. You know what I mean? Then you're doing something you love forever.
And again, man,
and making money.
Again, not to name a single name, but man, I have so many friends, so many peers that grew up in my scene, my genre.
Yeah.
All making a living playing copy tunes.
Yeah.
God bless them, man. That's cool.
There's some good money in that.
And they've, to me personally, said, "Oh man, I hate it, but it's a paycheck." And it is a paycheck, but you're right. You're giving up every weekend away from family, away from friends, doing this, playing the same set, relatively the same set list night after night, year after year, month after month, year after year, decade after decade. At what point does that get old, man? And I've asked them, like, why does it get old? Oh, dude, I'm making this amount of money. Like, okay, you make that doing anything, but then if you really want to express yourself, but it's just with me. I've been offered copy bands and tribute bands that I could do. I've never been a thought in my head, man. People told me, like, dude, you're stupid. Why don't you do that? You can make so much money doing that. No.
I guess there's a difference between two. I guess that just made me think of this. Like, there's also a difference between, like, an entertainer, and a player, you know what I mean? And
a player or a player?
Like a player.
Right.
And somebody that's a creator, somebody that, like, there's people that just like to write songs and create them, and then somebody else can perform them. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I think those guys in the cover bands, I mean, they're performers. They love it. They love doing it.
Yeah. And I do get that. I understand. They're superstars for the night. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah, I do get it. Yeah. I just can't. I can't. I don't get.
Well, you're a creator.
I don't get a thrill out of taking. I just don't get it. I don't get it. If I do someone, I can get on stage. I can jump on stage with a buddy of mine and do a GNR cover or a Van Halen cover or whatever.
Yeah.
And get that instant recognition. People are like, oh wow, that was awesome. But why? I did a good rendition of an old David Lee Roth standard or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And nothing against. I get it.
Hey,
Here's
there's
what's funny.
probably something else in their life that they find that they meditate deeply on.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. You're
Maybe not.
right. You're right. And that's why I can't knock it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
And it's just funny. My wife and I went to Christmas in July down at Medina Square the other night, Saturday night, and we were getting a little hammered, and we started karaokeing.
Yeah.
And this is so funny because once I started going, it was funny because the DJ dude had the volume way down, and because he's used to drunks up there sucking.
Yeah.
And I got up there, he didn't know who I was, and I started belting out space trucking or something.
Yeah.
He's like, wow, this dude knows what he's doing. And he kept inching my volume up, and all of a sudden I'm belting out. He's like, wow. And it was funny because afterwards, all these dudes would come up to me at fist bump, like, dude, that was great. And it was just, to me, I'm like, yeah, that's comical. Because to me, I looked at my wife, I'm like, that's as funny as it gets. Like, dude, awesome karaoke. To me, that's somewhat equivalent of getting up there and being in a copy band.
Right.
Not to be a dick. And then that goes.
But some people love doing it, though.
You asked me, what were you into? What were your influences? As a kid, dude, I was never in the mainstream. When kids were listening, whatever was on the top 40, whatever Casey Kasem was pumping out.
Sure.
I did like some one hit wonder shit in the 70s. There was some cool shit. I do listen to that to this day. But man, my stuff was, like I said, was the underground old David Bowie.
Right.
I'd look for the I didn't I'm not gonna listen to Rebel because that's popular. I'm listening to Diamond Dogs. It wasn't a conscious thing.
Right.
It was just because I somehow gravitated to that underground, and I never wanted to be that. I don't know, man. I always appealed to doing the underground thing. I didn't get off on the revelry of just doing what was in the mainstream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. So that's why, just for instance, man, I write down. This is funny because when I told you one of the last things I did, I was on Billy Morris's podcast, and he had. This was funny because I was like, I don't want to say dissing or bad mouthing, but I guess dissing or bad mouthing. I said, man, people are just sheep. Everyone just follows along. I go, how many times can you do? What's that popular Journey song that everyone does? Everyone.
Don't Stop Believing.
Jesus Christ, dude. If everyone's heard that 1,000 times at a bar, they've heard it, 2,000 times. And it's
they love it, though.
I know, man, but has it been programmed into?
I DJ sometimes, man. I'm telling you, they love it.
Oh man,
you put that thing on, dude. They love it. That one and that Bon Jovi.
But why? But what? Living
Bon
on
Jovi,
a prayer.
Living on a prayer, dude. Come on, man.
That's another one.
There's
dude,
girls dancing on bars for that one, man.
But why? And I'm not. I don't know, dude. Maybe I'm so weird. Maybe I'm the weirdo that doesn't get it because I'm like, Jesus, man. I'd before I were to perform those songs live. And it was funny because I was just got done talking about that. I'm like. I was saying exactly what we just said. I'm like, how many fucking times can you listen to Don't Stop Believing or perform Don't Stop Believing? And Billy's like, well, I do because people love hearing it. And he said exactly what you said. He's like, people love it, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, I get that. I'm like, God, I just could never do it. I'd rather hang myself.
Yeah.
And it was funny because then he had...
Because you do it for you.
Have what?
Because you do it for you.
And, okay. You know what I mean? Right. You're right. It's freedom of expression, and I get... And that's why...
Yeah.
I just don't understand it, though.
Right.
I don't. Just because I've never been mainstream. And even my dad, even though he wasn't... we weren't bonded and close, and, we had the estrangement and all that going on, but he was an outsider, man, very much so. He never... there was nothing in his life that appealed... he never... was into the mainstream curriculum of what was going on.
Sure.
And he always kind of rebelled against it. He was like a hippie without wanting to be a hippie. He was like one of those, fucking dirty, because he was like a biker. He was like a Steve McQueen type dude. So to him, hippie was a dirty word. It was all about smoking drugs and blasting one off and, having, being a freak flag, all that shit. But it wasn't that, man. It was hippies. It's a freedom of expression kind of thing, and I get it, man. But he was very much a beach bum. He was always into sailing and kayaking and the whole surf culture type of vibe thing going on. Is a surfer that far removed from a hippie? Really? No.
Yeah, you're
you're
all riding the waves,
all about
man.
Riding the waves, experiencing nature, and I get it, dude. I'm very much the same. So, that got way off tangent, but I just never have marched to the path of everyone else. And not saying I'm trying to be like an individual. I just can't.
But
be.
you
I just,
are an individual,
somehow, and that's why.
You are an individual.
Yeah, and we all are.
Right.
We all are. Right.
Right.
We all are.
Right. That's
we
my
all
point.
are. Right. But I'm not trying to say that I'm trying to wear that flag proudly of like I'm a fucking individual. You know, like here's my badge of honor. It's
I
not.
see.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Like
That's what I'm saying.
You're not pretentious with it.
There you go. That,
Yeah.
Thank you. That's the label, right? I'm not
Yeah.
pretentious about it.
Yeah.
It's just I just am, and that's like going back to the whole sevenfold thing, like that new album that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Dude, they took such a chance on that, and that's why I admire it so much. That album might get totally thrown away. I hope it doesn't. I think it's going to grow legs because it's so unique, and they took such a huge chance because they could have replicated what they just had gotten done doing with Hail to the King. Well, now, fucking 11 years ago? That was a long time ago now.
Yeah,
at least 10 years ago.
Yeah, I guess so.
But they just kept changing. You know, the stage took it to another progression, and then they took it completely out of left field, and that's cool, man. They took a huge chance, and it's fucking genius, man. And like, I admire that so much. Like, even like Marilyn Manson, going back to that, when he took the Antichrist Superstar thing, look at the wave he created. Man, he was giant. And what did he do? Just 1.5 years later, I believe it was, maybe 2 years later, Mechanical Animals. Like,
yeah.
And it was a big fucking, it fucked him up because like it was like, oh shit, maybe that wasn't such a good idea. And he quickly reverted with Hollywood back to being the Antichrist.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, he changed gears so quickly and so overnight. People weren't expecting that. But I admired it. I mean, he totally ripped off Ziggy Stardust, but it was still, I liked what he was doing. It was cool that he did it.
He was influenced by.
He ripped it off. Heavily influenced by David Bowie and by Pat Briggs and a band called Psychotica, which was a band no one ever heard of. But man, he completely stole a lot of what Pat Briggs was doing in NYC Underground. He stole it. I can show you what he stole directly, and Pat knew it. Pat died just a few months ago.
But I think when it's so obvious, though, it's not really stealing, you know, because I think he's well aware of that. Everyone knows that he's getting that from David Bowie. You know what I mean?
That part. But there was things that Pat Briggs of Psychotica did.
Yeah.
Like that I could show you directly in video or in pictures that Pat was doing in Psychotica. Like, he actually landed a spot on the Lollapalooza, one of the early Lollapalooza tours, and he was doing like a Mechanical Animals type of thing.
Yeah.
Pat Briggs was before a while before Mechanical Animals.
Right.
And Manson used to go see him.
Okay.
And directly took stage props and things he was doing, like being brought out on the television crucifix for that tour and things like that, and like coming out of the mechanical egg thing or whatever that he did. There was things that he did, like a lot of his stage outfitting was directly from what Briggs was doing.
Okay.
But whatever. But it was cool. He brought it to the mainstream, so that's cool because everything has its birth somewhere. We all got to have an influence that's going to take
nothing is completely original.
Nothing. There's
nothing.
You can't reinvent the wheel any further.
No,
and it's been reinvented to this point already. So, so that's cool. And if you do it well, cool.
The only thing you could do is make it your own. You know.
Yeah. You
know, and if you're able to express it, you know, that's
properly.
I think that's what people feel. I think people feel when you honestly express something. You know, I think they're. You know, you can do the formula, and if you have enough money, you can write a big pop song, Taylor Swift, and then make a lot of money. You know what I mean? But legends, I think, are made of all that. You got to have the money and the management and everything, you know.
It's all part
and
of it.
You also have to have that pure expression. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, sure, you can get halfway with either one. But,
I'm sure there have been some legends that were meant to be that were never discovered because they didn't have the right management, the right money behind them. Yeah. Which is sad. I've seen it. I've seen brilliant artists, even locally.
Right.
There's guys. Right. There's my friend Jason Meyer that contributed a lot of the music for the soundtrack to Running with the Angels, to my first film.
Yeah.
Brilliant musician, such a beautiful voice, it was funny when I first met him. I said, dude, you sound like David Cassidy. Going back to that, I go, don't take that. He's like laughing. I go, don't take that the wrong way. I go, I love David Cassidy. Has a very unique voice. It's like silk, man. It's got a delivery to it that's just, you can't imitate it. And there was a guy named Jamie Walters. He sang How Do You Talk to an Angel?
I don't know.
The Heights. It was a show. It was like a Beverly Hills 90210 spinoff.
Oh, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
And he was one of the few that had a David Cassidy voice. Also, his career went nowhere. He had a number one hit with How Do You Talk to an Angel? But nothing happened after that. But like that's just like a case in point. Like Jason should be very, very, very big. I mean, he does. He has a following, a local following.
Sure. Maybe
he's not doing what he should be doing. You know, like what he could.
Is he
be
happy
doing.
with it though?
Okay, you know what? He is. From what I've talked to him about, yeah, he is. He's very happy. He has a beautiful family.
Sure.
Beautiful wife. He just had a baby. Beautiful baby. He's happy with all that in his life. He's very busy. He has. I can't remember the name of his show. He has a show on JCU that he does weekly. It's a local music radio show that like spotlights local bands. He does that. He does a lot of things. What a
weird concept.
Right. But okay, is he happy? Well, yes. He's never gonna tell you he's not. Okay, here's the thing, though, dude. With that amount of talent, if life could be really easy, and he was getting just say, for instance, a Taylor Swift size paycheck, who the fuck wouldn't be happy with that? No one's Taylor Swift's never gonna say, God, I hate being a millionaire. God, I hate cruising around on my yacht and my private jet and living in my multiple mansions.
Well, apparently she gets a lot of heartbreak.
Yeah, fuck that shit. You know what? The money makes up for it, man. Money soothes a broken heart real quickly. But you know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, is he happy? I'm sure he would tell you, yes, he is.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say he could be a lot happier. That's putting a weird spin on that, But well, man, life sure could be a lot easier, and he could provide for his parents, who are awesome people, and whatever. You know what I mean? Make life easy for everyone around him. Just for instance, you know,
see, what was that new Adam Sandler movie where he was like, had that pawn shop or whatever? I don't know.
Pawn shop.
Yeah, and
when he was the gambler.
Yes.
That was a good movie. Yeah. The one serious movie made.
Well, it kind of reminds me of that a little bit. I can't remember the name of that movie.
I don't either. Wasn't he was nominated for some big awards for that, wasn't he?
Yeah. So, but the thing is,
he gets killed.
Yeah, he ends up dying. But but the thing is, like, he had it good, but he always. But no, I could. I got the information on this thing.
Yeah,
I can.
He had a gambling addiction.
Yeah.
So kind of different spin. But I know where you're going with that. You're right. There's always someone that's got it better.
Right. Yeah. Right. Always. Yeah. You're chasing.
But But I don't know what some of these people's paychecks are, but to use my friend's example. Okay, I'm just saying. Okay, so you got $100,000 a year salary, and I'm just saying it could be 3 times that for all I know. But I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But you could have a $10 million a year salary, just for instance.
Right.
I think you'd take the $10 million.
Yeah, but
you're gonna inherit some problems with that.
Everything comes at a cost.
It does.
More money, more problems.
Maybe I'm right. That's
or maybe
the problem,
not. I don't know.
Because I'm speaking for someone else, and I shouldn't be. But I'm just saying. Like, I wish people would take note of the talent where the credit is due. Because I hear local guys that have very little talent, and then they talk a big game. And it's all about the hype, and it's all about talking about, like, we got this, going for us, and we got that. And it's like, okay. And there's Jason, who you won't hear say a word about his talent, and it's huge.
Yeah.
And I've watched him for, 12, 13 years now, doing what he does, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't say, you wouldn't know. Like, he's never telling you, oh, man, I got this management, I got this, I got that. No, man. But it's like the guys that don't have it, they got to talk a big game,
But the thing is, you could have it and talk the game. See, I always said, because I played in a band, and we were, like I said, even I can make the same thing with, like, meeting girls, too, And, whatever. I've had my fair share of girls, whatever. And I'm not.
Would you like to elaborate on that?
No, but what I'm saying, though, is,
You're saying the girls are loving the Chris Daughtry persona.
Right? Yeah.
No, I got you.
It's just to be honest, to a fault. Like if I date a girl or I'm in a band or whatever, and it's like, well, we fucked up here, and this is where we can do better. No, I should go in there and say, no, we fucking rock. We fucking, same thing with the girl. It's like, well, no, here's my faults. And you're like, oh, this and that. But no, you just want to nail in your
confidence.
Good qualities.
Yeah, we absolutely.
You know what I mean?
No doubt. Right. And I'm not diminishing that at all. You have to have confidence. And you know what? To go along with that, like, okay, there's people that will construe, they'll say, Brad Slitt's an arrogant fucker. He's an egomaniac. He's just like, okay, dude, how else are you going to power through a set on stage and lead a band and lead an audience if you don't have confidence? If you don't get up there and say, it's time for me to kick your ass, I'm going to kick your ass now.
Where is the line, though? Where's the line? Where's the...
Oh, you don't be a dick to people.
Yeah.
I would never be. I never am, Yeah,
but sometimes it's like, if you know you're right, I don't know. But you never want to know you're right that much. Dude,
I'll always accept criticism, and I'm not always right. I'm far from it.
Right.
No one's always right.
Right.
Like I said out there, we don't know what the truth is about anything.
Right.
So if you tell me, for instance, one of the first things you ask me, are you religious? Do you believe in God? Like when I walked in.
Well, wait. That's not the first question I ask everyone when I walk in. When they walk in.
Right. Yeah.
There was context. It was contextual.
It was the third question. Right. No. But you know what I'm saying. Like, and then I said to you, I go, I don't care if you worship a rock, and I don't.
Yeah.
We don't know. No one knows the answer. And what better way to say that I'm not always right? And I'm going to tell you the fucking arrogance of the far Christian. I don't want to say the far Christian, right? Just Christians, religious zealots,
fundamentalists in general.
There you go, dude. I could go off. I could talk about this for hours in itself. You know what? Again, man, without putting a face to it or name to it, man. I had someone that was telling me very recently, that they had problems within their family because they are religious fundamentalists, hardcore, and their child is reaching off and has certain beliefs they don't agree in. Buddhism, this, that, and like the child would say, well, I argue points to the Bible because how do you explain prehistoric animals and this and that? And these people told me, to very mature, people, our age, telling me, no, dinosaurs never existed. Okay, that's just one for instance. They didn't, and I just, hey man,
Jesus
again, I'll listen to it. What?
Jesus horses. No, well, yeah.
But they said dragons did. I'm like,
right.
Huh? No, there's references in the Bible that prove that dragons are real. Okay, there's not one single artifact that, and I'm just saying between you and I and whoever's watching this, there's not a single artifact that exists that would explain the existence of one dragon at any time in time.
Well,
but there's all kinds of proof of fossils of prehistoric life, and you're gonna argue one and tell me that was completely man-made.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna say, dragons probably were mentioned way back in the day because they probably came across these dinosaur bones.
Well, that was my thought when this was being explained. That was exactly my thought when I was being explained.
What the fuck is this thing, dude?
Right.
It's huge and it's kind of like reptilian, kind of. You know what I mean?
They explained.
That's probably where that came from.
When I probed that a little bit, I said, "The Bible says that," and they said, "Yeah." They said there was giant, these beasts, these reptilian animals that breathe fire.
Yeah.
They breathe. They breathe according to his version of the Bible. These dragons, prehistoric, reptilian animals breathed fire. They were dragons. I'm like, okay, okay. Like I'm not gonna argue it, man. And then they said, well, my child questions. They said there's a chance there's life exists on other planets. And what I was telling you out there, it's like. The universes, the galaxies. There's more planets than words that have been spoken since the beginning of mankind. Since we have learned how to articulate language, the words that have been spoken by mankind. There's more planets that exist in all the galaxies, all the solar systems. So you're going to tell me in all that.
You're talking to a guy that loves that shit.
But this person.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't argue. I just accept it. When this person speaks, I just listen because I'm not up to arguing it. And they said, my child and I, we're just butting
Well, you're
heads.
not
We're
gonna
not
change
getting
their
along
mind.
because what's that?
You're not going to change their mind.
And
you
I'm
know
not,
what I mean?
and I don't want, nor do I want
So,
to.
and, yeah,
if they're
it
happy
took-
in their
it took me a
beliefs,
while
we'll
to
allow
learn
you know.
that.
But if
You
I
know?
voice my opinion, they would denounce me, and they have.
Sure.
They have.
Yeah. Well, that's that. You got to be the better person.
Well, I try to be.
Yeah.
I do,
know.
and
I know.
I'm not gonna say I am because
Trust me. I feel your pain.
You know, pretentious of me to say that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, but I'm
I
just
know.
saying
It could
I
come
will turn
across
the
that
other
way.
cheek to a lot of things that come out of this camp.
Yeah.
They do not.
Yeah.
Like with them, it's an issue. You know, with things, but like I don't argue anything, but like they will denounce. Just for instance, the Marilyn Manson posters that I have in my basement, like
Right.
that's horrible. Okay. Okay. Moving on. You know, like wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, you know, I think, I've always called myself liberal, you know, because I remember back in the day, it was like, you know, the Christian right was trying to like censor everything. You know what I mean? That was like a big thing. That was like
PMRC was
yeah. That was the big thing. That was the war on Christmas. That was the trans thing. That's the whatever they want to make us fight about, whatever thing. You know, and I remember that, and I was like, well, just you do whatever you want to do, and let me do whatever I want to do, as long as we're not hurting anyone.
That's my belief,
that's okay.
man.
That's my political party right there.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like now it's like it seems like, you know, not to get too political, but like it's switching. You know, it's like now like the normal people that should be left are telling you, no, you have to do this. You have to, you know, and it's like, well, no. I still stand by.
Which is what cancel culture is all about.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You
just
do
so
whatever you want to do.
wrong.
Just let me do whatever I want to do, as long as we're not hurting anyone.
Absolutely.
It's all good, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I don't know. I think...
Dude, and you know who has it right? And it's not nature.
Right.
Nature lives by its own rules and does what it does, but it only takes what it needs. You know, it doesn't, for the most part, it doesn't harm for the sake of harm. Yeah, but the parasites also, they're taking what they need. You know, they're taking what they live off of.
There's some that can be symbiotic with us or other creatures, but there's some that just overtake it and kill both.
Both. Well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying nature can be very cruel.
Yeah.
You know, I watch. I still watch. I'm like, I love nature. I appreciate nature, but I respect it in all its forms, and I love it. And I try to live by the rules of nature, which is a very Buddhist Eastern belief.
Sure.
You live by the earth. The earth lives by you. We're all part of it. We're all part of the system.
That's even Christian.
We are all part of this energy force that is the cosmos.
We're all one.
All of it, man.
Yeah.
We're all a giant organism, man.
Yeah.
So we're all connected. We're all we're a brotherhood, a sisterhood, whatever you want to say. But like in its purest form, the innocence of nature, there's nothing more pure than that, you know?
Yeah.
Of course, a lion will come by and sweep it off its feet and devour it.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying? Like that the purity of that is really beautiful, man. To understand that,
for
like,
sure.
if you come to an understanding of that, you'll understand a lot of the ways of what we represent. Really.
Yeah.
You know, really, like essentially, at our core.
Yeah. No. I mean, and you know, somebody once said, you know, I mean, what was it? Carl Sagan or somebody, you know. And it was like I remember having this thought. I'm going to say this now. It's easy to say this.
Right.
I thought of it first, and then I heard it. But
I've had those moments too.
But whatever. Hey, you can believe me. You can not believe me. Whatever. But
Right.
I think common birds of a feather flock together. I think common minds think alike and stuff like that. But not going to say that I'm anything like this guy, Carl Sagan. We with our intelligence is just like a way for the universe to understand itself, you know? And it's like the more we're just trying to figure it out, you know, that's feeding into the collective of everything, just because nobody knows nothing. We are trying to figure out what's going on at the same time. The whole universe is.
Do you think we ever will? I mean, just I know that's. That's so abstract. I know, but
I mean, I think, God, I don't know what happens when you die.
Right.
I'm supposed to ask you this question.
I wish I had an answer.
I don't know. I honestly think that, like, I don't remember what happened before I was born.
Right.
So
that's the big saying. People, you don't remember before, so why would you remember after?
Well, what if there was something and you just don't remember it? I mean, I've had sex with girls that I don't remember.
Oh, okay. It's a way of putting it.
You know what I mean? That was a little crude. I didn't mean that. Don't cancel me.
Cancel. In fact, I'm leaving right now. Good day to you, Chris Daughtry.
Right. But I mean, I don't know. I mean,
It is mind-numbing to actually think about that. People lose their minds trying to put that.
Well, there's physicists. There a lot of physicists actually lose their mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I remember taking a physics class in college, and I was like, when does it become intuitive? And the professor was like, it won't. I'm like, yeah, but there's guys, that get it, and they're like, well, yeah, but they have no life. You know what I mean? That's all they do. You know what I mean? And to understand that, and to fathom infinity, that's what they're essentially trying to do. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I remember that's what caused a lot of anxiety when I was young, is just thinking of going to heaven and living forever. It freaked me out.
Because what is that? What is what is the end of? Okay, at the end of everything,
right?
What goes beyond it? Does it just keeps going forever and ever and ever and ever? It's
I remember
freaking mind-numbing. A buddy of mine, his neighbor is a nuclear physicist.
Yeah.
And I asked him about it. I'm like, wow, what better mind? This is pretty much as big as the mind gets. This guy, he's there, man.
Yeah.
And he explained it in essence, in a nutshell, exactly by what I expressed. And he just said, we go on as an energy force. We are here. Right. We always have been here. We always will be here, which is existentialism,
right.
Yeah. There's a movie called The Tree of Life with Brad Pitt.
Okay. I haven't seen it.
A lot of people hate it. It's funny. My brother, he's like, I watched the fucking weirdest movie. I'm like, what? He's like, The Tree of Life. He goes, it had Brad Pitt. I figured it had to be good. He goes, I go, and? He goes, I don't know what I just watched. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, I go, what's it about? He goes, I don't know. I go, what do you mean you don't? I go, just in a nutshell, what's it about? He goes, I don't know. I go, well, what is it? And he's like, well, he's young and he has a son. His son dies. I'm like, so it's like a tragedy? He goes, no. And I watched it. I finally watched it. And I liked it. It's one of the most existential movies I've ever seen. Maybe the only purely existential one. Just like I keep saying, the A7X album is the most existential album. It just goes on to infinity. I like that. This movie is there's no beginning, no end. There's no point to it, really. But it just is. But at the same time, the director captured the essence of what the life experience is.
Right.
Which is really fucking cool. Yeah. And it's huge in a way.
Right.
And I really I was like, okay. I at moments I was questioning, what the fuck is going on? But I got it, And I'm like, I see where he's going with this. And it's big, man. It's where I think you might get some out of it, because I think we're kind of on the same plane with that. I think you might.
I was going to ask you if you saw the movie Waking Life. Richard Linklater, he did the Days of Confused thing. Whatever.
Yeah.
So he did another movie called Waking Life, and it's kind of I mean, it's all about existence.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude. It's like a kid in a dream, and he keeps going and having these different deep philosophical questions with a bunch of different people, and he doesn't know if he's dreaming or if
it's a dream within a dream type scenario.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I'll
the
check
conversations.
That out.
It's cool. Whatever.
Well, there's that whole concept that everything we even really hear, is it all just a dream? Is this do we exist in someone's conscious?
When I have a dream, and I'm in this place, I've never been there before. I've never even thought of that place. Or you know what I mean? I'm doing things, and I'm in this neighborhood where I've never seen this neighborhood before. Right. Where'd that come from?
Right.
What I mean?
Right.
Where
that, and then. And when you experience those things when they replicate themselves in real life, and all of a sudden you come across a scenario, something that transpires in your life, they oh shit, I've lived this moment before. Where does that come from? The old deja vu type of situation.
Yeah.
Where it's what just happened?
What was
I've
that?
had definitive moments like that. You know,
yeah.
like, okay, what the fuck, man?
Well, I feel as though there was at least a couple times where it's, normally it's deja vu. It's like, well, I've been here. But at least a couple times I remembered a dream specifically that was that thing. I was like, oh, that's what I dreamt about last week. At least I think
You think you did, right?
I think I thought that.
I know. Did you smoke too much weed, or like, yeah? Because I've had those moments too.
Yeah.
Which is the whole mind trip in itself. But like, I know what you're saying, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, the human mind is, it's something, man. Like, just the idea of what is, and what, like, again, going back to the whole universe thing, galaxy thing, how naive, ignorant, whatever we can be. And again, we'll go back to like people that I was talking about just moments ago. To put a religious face on it.
Right.
There's these people that are so arrogant in their own belief that they think they have the definitive answer to that, and this is it. This is what the Bible says, and this is what it is. What the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Really? Like, geez, that's as arrogant as it gets, man.
Well, that's faith,
like,
man. That's faith.
But then it's faith. But then faith is an acceptance of ignorance too. You know what I mean? Because like, you should be blind like a child. You should accept with childlike. Dude, my childlike
when I said
innocence
that, I was being
went out
sarcastic.
the door the first time I got my fucking face caved in. It was like the end of innocence. The end of innocence came long before that. With a lot of fucking turmoil in my childhood. But man, like, I had a harsh awakening to where it's like, no, man, I can't be so accepting of all things. Like you said, most people are basically good and this and that. Like, oh man, I wish I could live in that world, And it's like, it's not that I don't want to, because I keep wanting to accept that, but then I keep being proven wrong, time and again.
Yeah.
And I'm accepting of all things and of all people, and I'm open to ideas. But I just see it happen. I let it happen. And people are always like, well, why don't you voice your opinion? I'm not one to tell anyone what to do. I don't like people telling me what to do.
Yeah.
I've always had a disdain for authority. So I don't like people telling me what to do, whether it comes to teachers or parental authority, figures or whatever.
Yeah.
I just don't like that, man. Let people be you. I mean, don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Do the right thing again, but let people be people. And I'm not one to tell people what to do. But then, when you have people crashing in on your world, man, it's like, it's not cool. So therefore, I let people spin their wheels, and whatever it's going to be. If you're going to put a knife in my back, it sucks, but I'm going to let it happen. I'm going to allow for that. I'm going to allow for that, because whether I allow it or not, you're going to want to do that. You've wanted to do that. It's been a thought in your head.
Yeah.
So just fucking go ahead, man. Let it play out. I'm used to it. At this point, I've had a few hundred, a few thousand. I don't know. I've had a lot of knives in my back. So I'm going to let that happen. Whether it comes from a dude, a friend, or a chick, or whatever.
It's picking your fights.
Right, man. I just let it go. I let people be people. I'm not just going to like casually take a lot of bullshit. Of course, at points, I'm going to voice my opinion and be like, man, why are you being a dick? But all the same, I'm not going to stop you from being a dick.
Right.
Yeah, if, whatever. If you are, whatever you're doing, whether you're a dude that's stealing my money, whether you're a chick that's banging dudes behind my back, whatever's going on, all right, I'm not going to be happy.
Yeah.
But do what you're going to do, and then I'll make up my mind in the end. And, and unfortunately, because of taking that path in life and allowing people to do that, I've been shown that, unfortunately, and maybe it's just me, people are really bad for a large part. So many people are. There's good in people, and there's people that are beautiful, people that are really good people. But so many people, man, have done such harsh things. I had a talk with this guy that was a prison warden, career, I think 20 years, prison warden in, I think, Kentucky. And he was telling me, and he's a really sweet, really nice, really loving guy. And he likes to look for the good in all people. But he lives in a nutshell. He lives in a very closed world.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, he hasn't seen a lot of the outside. Hasn't experienced a lot. I can't speak for him. Again, I can't speak for him. But he's always had his family system, and his he's done things in close circles.
Sure.
And then his career has been, interaction with these prison people.
Yeah.
So he's like, the thing that's striking me, he's like, even though you'll meet these people that had a bad shake of things, they might be there for murder, they might be there for rape. He's like, but basically, he goes, I think 90% of people or more are basically good. I think 90% of people want to be good or believe they're good. And again, maybe I'm the odd guy out, man. Like, maybe it's just my experience, man, with life. And not say there's not
or
good
it's what
in
you
people.
focus on?
There's not good in people. Dude, I don't focus on it. I try not to focus on it. And I do very pessimistic qualities about me. I do. But I don't. I try to focus on the good because I want to believe in the good. And I want to be happy. I want to be that fucking...
It's like you fake it to make it kind of thing,
Yeah, I want to. But again, every time, man, and I could go... I was reading you a little, riot act on the life of Brad, before we started talking here on camera. That's just a little taste of things, dude.
Yeah.
I could go down the line.
Sure.
Systematically. People in my life, from parental figures, from my father to best friends, closest friends, to girlfriends, on and on,
Yeah.
It's not good. And it's just me letting people spin their wheels. Not to say I don't make mistakes, because sure shit I do.
Yeah.
And I'll be accountable for them. I try to be.
We all do. Yeah.
But if you let people spin their own web, man, eventually they're gonna fuck you, man. Like in my own experience,
it depends. Yeah, it depends on who you surround yourself with. But I will agree. I mean, I've definitely, I try to be like honest to a fault, dude, for sure. So it's like, whenever something happens, but I can easily walk away, man. It's so easy for me to just walk away.
That's how I've learned to do more and more, and that's the best thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But should you have to? Shouldn't be. I mean, should you have
if it's
to?
not making you happy, you walk away.
But why should people be allowed to make you unhappy? I'm not saying, I'm not taking the right away from people.
Because then this is the way I look at it. Who knows what the fuck I don't know nothing from nothing. But the way I see it is if I don't just walk away and somebody's doing something to make me upset, well, now I'm dictating how I think they should be. And I don't think I should do that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Which is our common belief. Same thing, man.
And it's like, so if...
And that's why I let people be themselves. Same thing.
Right.
If I tell you not to do something, if I tell a girlfriend, not to have a girlfriend now, because I'm happily married.
Yeah.
But if I had, girlfriend,
she is your girlfriend. Your wife.
She's my girlfriend and my wife. And she's an awesome person.
Yeah.
She's one of the few that she gets me, and it's like, because she had a very, I don't want to call it dysfunctional, like I don't know what label to put on it. She was adopted, raised by a single father that was a Vietnam vet, and he's a priest now, ironically. Very different upbringing, but like she found out her mother was basically a free spirit, basically a hippie, basically my mentality. Ended up in California, and just a whole different, like a lifestyle that I get it. I get why she is. Because without being brought up like me, she was genetically influenced by. Because that's the whole thing, man. Like there is a genetic influence that you can't fight. That it's people meet their fathers or mothers, whatever they never knew if they were adopted, or whatever. And they meet them years later, and they have so much in common, and it's just a genetic trait.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, I'm getting way off subject again. Where were we going with that?
I don't know.
Right? We're all over the board,
I was going to say, we might have to wrap it up here soon, because it did. We're over 3 hours.
Wow, dude. That's a long one. Okay. This is like going to be a mini-series. You're going to have to chop this up in 3 parts, bro.
I was going to say, I'm probably going to have to do at least 2 parts.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know it was that long. Wow.
No. Hey, dude. I love it. You're like expressive, and
Thanks,
it's like you
bro.
got a lot to say. I mean, that's a good thing. That's a good thing to let it out, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, it's like I do these things, and like I told you, I haven't done one in a little while because it's like I don't know how much I have to say anymore. I've done so many interviews over the years. It's like I don't know if people get tired of hearing. I don't know if people even care to listen. I don't know who listens to it, you know. But you're right.
You're gonna get tens of views here,
right. But what? But you know what, dude?
Could be a couple hundred. You might get a couple hundred.
But if it reaches people that I haven't reached before, and I strike a note with someone, that's fucking cool.
Yeah.
And that's happened. That's happened a lot. And I'll get one dude or one chick or one person or whatever that's like,
it only takes one. Like, if I make one person happy,
that's right.
That's it, right?
And that's cool. Yeah. And I get that, dude. Yeah. I
mean, it sure would feel better with a few thousand people in them.
Right? Yeah. Like they always say, you know, you can't change the world, you can change the world around you, you know? So you're changing the world around you, and that's cool in a positive way. I think, you know, like I said, I checked out a bunch of your stuff, and I like it. I like where you're going. I like what I'm hearing.
Oh.
It's cool, dude. It's very cool.
Thanks.
Yeah,
I wasn't fishing for a compliment here, man.
Well, you did pay me out there to say that, so no. I like the Bill Bailey one. Bill's a great dude, and you know, like he'd interviewed me for his podcast, and like, he's a cool dude, and he's a cool dude. Like I think I have a lot in common with that dude in a way, like personality wise. And I get it, like especially after listening to your thing, and him and I talked a lot more in the past, like when we connected. And I'm like, I get it. I get where you're going, dude. Like, I think we're all similar, very similar in a way, man.
Yeah,
I think so.
I've always liked Bill. I think he's a good guy.
Dude. Yeah, he's a good dude.
His heart's in the right spot, you know. Right? I mean, totally. You know.
But that's cool, dude. It's cool. Just like you said, this stuff needs to be documented for prosperity's sake.
Yeah,
you know, for
that's it.
Somewhere, you know, like, okay, like you know, like as a kid or whatever, I'm like, Stiv Bators, wow, what's this all about, you know? And I'll go search for him, and I'll find stuff, or Sid Vicious, or whoever, and I name your flavor. And it's cool to find old interviews on YouTube or whatever. Like now we have that access to all that, which this is part of, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like maybe long after I'm gone, someone will be like, man, this Brad Slitt dude that's saying for Priscilla. And like I always say, like, you know, like I get like a lot of kids, a lot of young people. There's big underground of like glam type, Sunset Strip type music.
Yeah.
You know, like the whole sleaze metal scene that's going on in Europe and like a lot in South America and stuff like that for some reason. And those kids are like, dude, I'm doing a copy of this song or that song of mine. And I'm like, that's great. All the power to you, bro. You know, make it good.
Yeah.
Just make it. And like, you know, I hope that like somewhere down the line, like I always look at like, going back to Stiv Bators and the Dead Boys, like one of my favorite Guns N' Roses songs is their cover of Ain't It Fun that they did on Spaghetti Incident, you know? And like when I first heard that, I knew very little of the Dead Boys. I remember them from being a child. I remember seeing like Night of the Living Dead Boys and stuff like that in record stores or record theater and stuff like that.
Right.
But then like hearing GNR do that, and like I love that song. It's like, oh wow, that's cool. That was from, that was fucking Stiv Bators. That was Dead Boys. Here's a quick side note to that story. I saw Stiv right before he died. I was at Mark's in Broadview Heights.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, on Broadview Road. Dude, and I was getting in my car. I had a Fiero at the time. Go figure.
Yeah.
I'm getting in my car, and Stiv is walking out. He's walking behind his sister and brother-in-law. And it was a really hot day, I remember, and he's head to toe in black leather. And from far away, I'm a kid, I'm young, whatever. And I'm like, like the dude that was walking in front of him, that was his brother-in-law. He's like, look at, he saw that I'm like, hey, is that? I thought it was Nikki Sixx for some reason because he had like a dyed black kind of moppy hair. Is that Nikki Sixx? Like I don't know where my brain went to it. I could tell it was a rock star, you know. And he goes, no, that's Stiv Bators. Like he was coming towards me, and I go, oh no shit. He goes, you know who that is? I go, yeah, I know who that is. Hey, you think he'd mind if I said hello? You know, whatever. He's like, oh no, come on over. I'll introduce you. So I went and talked to him for a minute, you know, and there's not long after that, you know, he went back to France and died, you know, unfortunately. But, and it's funny. My wife says I'm like the black doll. What'd she call me? I don't know, just the omen, the bat. I met Steve Clark several times, but I hung out with him at the Hard Rock in New York City the week before he died. he was I've never seen someone so bad on alcohol, and he was supposed to be in rehab when he was there. Yeah. And he's like, oh, my manager's gonna be pissed if he finds out I'm here because he's down on all these shots and drinks. And I'm like, man, if that guy doesn't get help, I told the rest of my band, I'm like, he's gonna die, man. And sure as shit, we're sitting around my apartment like the next week, and comes across like MTV, Kurt Loder, or whatever. He's like, Steve Clark dead. I'm like, oh shit. So like he died. Scott Weiland died right after I hung out with him. There's some others too that I'm missing now. Well, I'm the common link. Like my wife's like, oh my god, like all these people are dying right after me. All these rock stars. Yeah. I'm like, holy shit. Like I didn't even put it together until I'm like, yeah, I remember. Right before he died, we were hanging out, and she's like, oh my god. But anyways, man, totally sidetracked there. But yeah, so Stiv, like I always say, like if some kid in some far off country, or even America, I don't know, like maybe somewhere there'd be a resurgence of like hard rock, sleaze rock, whatever, glam rock, whatever it is, have a resurgence, and someone do a really kick-ass copy of 8 Lives Gone or High Fashion or some old Priscilla track, and it gives it a new injection of just flavor, of power.
Yeah.
And it hits the masses, and like fuck yeah, because like Guns N' Roses made Ain't It Fun bigger than the Dead Boys ever made, So like that kind of a thing. Like if there's a new day band of anything of that caliber that does that, man, that'd be fucking cool. I probably won't be here to appreciate that, but my ancestors,
most artists,
but like that whole thing, and then if that were to ever happen, they'd go back to an interview like this and be like, oh man, I found an interview with that dude. It's like, oh wow, that dude's pretty fucking cool. He had some cool things to say. Or maybe like he's a giant fucking asshole. Fuck that guy. I'm gonna cancel him. Boom, cancel in the year 2050.
Right. That's
took me that long, and I got canceled altogether.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Right.
2346. You're canceled. Yeah. Everything on there.
Yeah. Fucking.
That's scary too, because this should be there forever, but somebody could like clip all the bad stuff they don't want, like 5,000 years from now.
Could happen.
You know what I mean?
Could happen.
And
go back and erase history, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, like I don't know. At some point, you're almost expecting it to happen with the Led Zeppelins and Pink Floyd's and Rolling Stones for things they did.
Yeah.
But I hope it never comes to that.
I mean, you think
that's like a Fahrenheit 451 type scenario, where the fucking burning shit that's what society's becoming.
Or the Library of Alexandria, way back in the day.
There you go.
That's supposed to have like all this knowledge there.
Right.
Yeah, somebody just like, fuck it, let's burn it.
It's fucked up, man. Scary.
Yeah.
If we allow it, that's going to happen
again.
Again.
Sure.
I mean, it could. Not saying it will. It could.
All right. I think we're going to have to end on this high note.
Yeah, that's a pretty high note.
The high note of society becoming so corrupt that they erase their own
Brad
history.
Slitt. Fuck. They did it. They finally did it.
No. Brad Slitt's going to be the only thing that makes it through.
That'd be awesome, man. Charlton Heston at the end of Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
You did it. You finally did it.
Yeah.
It's going to be me.
You goddamn dirty apes.
I would be alive. But if I could, they put me in a time capsule, I could reawaken. You finally did it. You canceled me altogether.
Yeah.
But, it'd be great, man. If Brad Slitt can bring together the masses. Brad Slitt for president.
Hey. Over all these other clowns we got, I'd vote for you.
All right.
I would vote for you, man.
All right, brother. Got one vote.
All right. So, we're going to have to call this. Dude, Brad, awesome. Thank you for coming down, man. Yeah.
That was really cool.
Dude, no, seriously, it was...
Yeah.
You made the record with the longest one, I think.
That was a lot, dude. Like, I do interviews and, like, John Petkovic, man.
Yeah.
Like he said, like he interviewed me for
Plain
Dealer.
We're gonna add another 30 minutes there.
Real quick, he interviewed me for the Plain Dealer right before it went out of print altogether.
Yeah.
And it ended up being 3 hours. He's like, dude, this is the longest stuff I've ever. I'm like, oh, dude. Here we go again, but it tends to happen. Sorry, man.
The only reason is when I edit it down. When it's long, it takes fucking forever.
Yeah,
it really drives me crazy. That's the only thing that I don't. But dude, I'd love to have you back, man. Cool. For sure.
Even after all that,
I think I'm gonna start doing like doubles, like interchange. Have like you and somebody like Tony Erba or something.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah. Tony's got a lot to say.
Yeah. So, but having the interaction between
Tony,
you guys,
holy shit, that's something.
Yeah.
Tony's awesome. He's so articulate, dude.
Yeah. Oh, dude, he's awesome.
I was watching your interview with him, and I'm like, wow, I'm gonna come off like a dummy after this dude. He's so like brilliant.
Dude, he's awesome. No, he was so fun.
I mean, I don't know what the fuck he's doing.
He was fun.
He should, dude.
Yeah. All right, Brad.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Sub CLE. We're out.